Well, hello there, lovely people. How are we doing this evening? Hello, everybody. Hello. Hello to BBG in Cornwall. Hope you're okay. Hello to Super Stymie. I don't know how many people I'm going to have. There's Big Ed. You're being rude. Being rude. Oracle, Nicole. Everybody's having a good time. Uncle Winston, having a good time. All right. I'm glad y'all are joining me. Hello. All right. So, oh, hello there. First time I've been able to make one of these. KY. Stool Boom. Hello, K. Hello, J. Boom fan. Yes, hello from Northern Ireland. I can't do a Belfast. Northern Ireland. Hey, May Scat 44. Hello, everybody. Where's Tina? Hey, Joey. Why isn't Tina showing up? What's up, Nikki? All right. Elizabeth T. Missed the last one. Hello. Yeah, so today, again, just going to hang out and talk some Cooper stuff. There's Tina. Hello, Tina. I love you too, Tina. We all love Tina. Be cool if it's the real one. Hey, Jim. Hello, Jim. Jim Aurelian wants to FOIA. I've been talking to Jim. I'm going to FOIA for the hair slide again. Hopefully we can find it. Maybe it's in the Jackson office. As I said, we had an issue with when I filed for the hair slide, the FBI accepted it and said they were going to look for it. And then suddenly, hey, Landy, and then suddenly stopped looking for it. I got a thing where they said, they didn't say anything, actually. It just says closed. I didn't even get an answer. Normally, when they close something, you'll get some kind of answer where they're saying, well, we couldn't find it or da-da-da. It was just closed all of a sudden. I've never really had them I've never actually had them just end a FOIA after they've accepted it. Normally, they just won't do it. So part of me was like, well, geez, did they actually find the damn hair slide? And this didn't, I mean, because they don't have to tell us. Hey, Steve, I mean, think about that. If they found the hair slide, they would never, there's no need for them to tell us that. They could just, they Epstein to me. Yeah, it was just bizarre. So I don't know, maybe they found it, but Nikki's saying, what are we going to do differently this time? Well, basically, so when we FOIA'd for it, when I FOIA'd for it last time, I just asked them to try to find something. I was hoping that maybe there was something further that I don't know where they looked, honestly. I just said, look for it. But I think that what Jim wants to do is actually FOIA the Jackson office, the Jackson, Mississippi office for it. See, here's the thinking behind that, okay? The thinking behind that comes from the 1974, what happened in 1974 is that, remember, with the hair slide, what they used to do with the hair slide is it's crazy, but, they would send Cooper's hair from Vegas to the FBI crime lab in D.C., and they would get a suspect's hair, and it would come from whatever office the suspect came out of. So, for example, McCoy, right? They got a piece of McCoy's hair from the Salt Lake City office. So Salt Lake City sent McCoy's hair to D.C., and Vegas sent Cooper's hair to D.C., and they compared them, and crime lab put them back in envelopes to D.C. Crime lab put them back in envelopes to Salt Lake City and back to Vegas. Now, in 74, they were comparing the hair of this cat. I've already forgotten his name. Jim West or something. I forget what the guy's name was. I've been wanting his name for so long, and I finally get his name, and now I can't remember it. Somebody remind me what that guy's name was. But the LA suspect I was wondering about for so long was this disc jockey who went missing and shows up. He goes missing, I think, 2 days before. No, maybe 3 days before the hijacking. Maybe Sunday night before the hijacking. So 3 days before the hijacking. He goes missing and ends up, they found out that he's staying in, they found out a year later, or year or two later, when they investigated him, that he was staying in a hotel in Oregon, south of Portland at the time. So he goes right from LA faking his own death. He apparently faked his own death. He went out on a boat and never came back. His boat was found off of the harbor a little ways. And the FBI were looking for him. And the FBI eventually found the guy. But they determined that he was he was a disc jockey for a country western, and they found him, but he had gone right after the hijacking to south of Portland, where he had been a disc jockey up in that area during the 50s and early 60s. And he had some aviation experience. He had private pilot training with his wife, interestingly enough. But anyway, so they compared his hair to the Cooper hair. Now, what they did, LA took this guy's hair, sent it to DC, and Vegas sent Cooper's hair to DC for comparison. Now, the next thing we have is them saying the hair is not a match. We are sending the hairs back to LA, and we're sending the Cooper hair back to Vegas. Well, what they did accidentally is they sent both hairs to LA. So we have this memo where LA goes, we have the DB Cooper hair to Vegas. We have the DB Cooper hair. Do you want us to send it back? Yes. So they accidentally sent both hairs, the crime lab, to LA. So the thought is that perhaps, well, we know that the only other time that they compared a suspect, the only time we know that they compared a suspect's hair to the Cooper hair was Orville Lyons out of Mississippi. And we know that the Jackson office sent Orville's hair to DC, and then Vegas sent the Cooper hair to DC. So the thought is that maybe this happened again, that maybe DC sent Cooper's hair again erroneously to the suspect place. So maybe Cooper's hair and Orville Lyons' hair were accidentally sent back to Jackson. Although I think that I have, let me see, do I have that? Let me see if I can add, let me see if I have in my files here the hair slide stuff. Let me figure out the Orville Lyons. Let me find that. It's going to be 84. Here we go. Okay. Let me see if we can see this. All right. September 84. Okay. So this is just the memo. This is me to Jackson from, looks like, from the crime lab. It says investigation requested by Jackson and Vegas. Remember, Jackson was, Mississippi is the office where Orville Lyons came from. We have here that, so it looks like they got a arm hair sample and a head hair sample from Lyons and a handwriting sample from Lyons. It says that they received the Cooper hair from Vegas on September 18th, 84. Okay. And it says the result, as previously indicated, blah, blah, blah. A brown hair was found on a brown hair lab number PCH3225MC. That's the actual thing you'll see on the microscopic slide. That's the evidence tag. It says this hair is dissimilar to the hair in K9, which is Lyons' hair. And based on the hairs in K9 cannot be associated with DB Cooper. It's funny. Yeah. So the Jackson, what's funny about this is that you can see that they sent handwriting. So the Jackson office didn't realize that there was no DB Cooper handwriting. That's why it says no extortion or demand notes used in the hijacking were recovered. No meaningful comparisons of the writing of, I guess, unsub Cooper can be conducted in this matter. So it says here, specimens K7 through K10 will be returned as enclosures to Jackson office, and the resubmitted glass slide, that's the Cooper hair, will be returned as an enclosure to Vegas. So we have the crime lab saying they're going to send this stuff. Okay. But we never get anything saying that Vegas received it back. So this document here is the last document that ever mentions the hair slide in existence in the FBI files. So maybe they screwed up again. Because I think that they said the same thing. I think they said, let me see if I can find it. I think back when they looked at the hairs of, what's his nuts, Jim West or whatever his name was. Let's see what this, I think this is let me see what this says here. So this is the LA suspect's hair. I'm not sure what this document is. Yeah, it says specimens received from Vegas. Head hair sample, K7 head hair sample is going to be from Silkwood. I think his name's Silkwood. Wasn't it Silkwood? Somebody tell me. Silkwood, I think his name was. Anyway, yeah. The head hair clipping could not be associated. So it's the same thing as the Orville Lyons thing, right? Is crime lab saying, hey, these hairs don't match. Now, let me see if, so that's going to be, what's the date on that one? Looking at, okay. Yeah, so interesting. Here we go. So, damn it. Son of a gun. So here we go, people. This is, so we have the crime lab saying they're doing something and then not doing it, because we've got the crime lab right here saying enclosed for Vegas. Oh, no. This is when LA sends it back. So this is LA sending it back. This is LA. Remember I told you that they sent Cooper's hair to LA. This document here, if you read it, is LA going, we're sending that back. We're sending the Cooper hair back to you guys because we accidentally received it. Let me see if I can find the document where they accidentally received it. Is this might be it here. I think this is the same one I already showed you guys, isn't it? Yeah, so, I mean, this is them saying, yeah, at the bottom here, look at the bottom. It says, see, they call it the resubmitted glass microscope slide. That's what they, for some reason, they always call the Cooper hair resubmitted glass slide. But they're saying, we are returning it to the Las Vegas field office as an enclosure. So they didn't do that though, right? They accidentally sent it to LA. So maybe they did the same thing. I thought I had LA saying, hey, we received this on accident. But maybe I can't find it on my I can't find it. Oh, well, here's something you can look at, folks. We talk about the tie a lot. Here is Vegas sending, or is it Seattle, I guess, sending the tie in the mail to LA, because they wanted to show that they were really hot on the trail of the Silkwood guy. Because, hey, I mean, the guy fakes his death, and then 2 days later, he's up in Portland area, right? So this is from Ron Nichols. You see that at the bottom there, people? You'll see RNN. That's Ron Nichols, Ron Newton Nichols. Anyway, so this is let's see how long LA held on to this. So this is from April 22nd, 74. Seattle sending the tie in the regular mail, just throw it in an envelope to LA to show to Silkwood's wife. Let's see how long it took LA to send it back. Hell, okay, I don't even have that actually. Well, they sent it back eventually. Sorry, I don't have that. I wish I had where they sent it back. Wish I could find that. Sorry, folks. Let's let you down. Let's let you down there, people. But anyway, you can see that. It was a while, though. Like, it's obviously the Cooper tie sat on an agent's desk for months. It was months. It wasn't like nothing. It was a while before they sent it back to Seattle. So that Cooper tie just sat there getting cheeseburgers and all kinds of stuff, whatever was on these agents' desks on it. So that's why it's hard to just take anything seriously with the DNA. Okay. Can you please elaborate on what is known about Orville Lyons as a suspect? Well, okay. So Orville Lyons was turned in by it seems like she's redacted, but it sounds like an ex-girlfriend who knew him, who dated him at some point in like 70 or 71 up in Seattle. He's originally from Delaware. And I've mentioned this before, but I really wanted to know who he was, especially because I'm a Mississippian, and I knew that there was this redacted suspect name out of the Jackson office who had his hair compared, right? I mean, McCoy, you had to be a serious suspect, obviously, to have your hair compared. And that was a big step for the FBI to actually send the Cooper hair somewhere. It was McCoy, Silkwood, and who was the LA guy who faked his death, and then Orville Lyons in 84. But I didn't know his name was Orville Lyons. All I had were the letters in his name. But I had the things I had to go off of, and it was just kind of a miracle that I found this name out. But his name was Orville Andrew Lyons. Okay, but the redacted name, you can kind of see how many letters are in a redaction because of the spacing in them, right? Because if you look at this, so look at this is the way you do 302s, people. There's redactions. You can see that this is, look at the lettering. This is like some kind of I think it's called Calibri font. Is that right? It's some sort of Calibri where it's I think they call it monospaced. So everything is spaced up and down. Everything is spaced vertically the same. The letters. So you can count how many letters are in a redaction, for example. So we had this guy's first, middle, and last name. And I knew the number of letters in his first, middle, last name. And I knew that he was a Marine, because just from looking at the stuff that wasn't redacted. I knew that Lyons, but remember, we didn't know his name then. I didn't know his name then. I knew he was a Marine from Delaware who was wounded in the Korean War. Well, that's not a lot to go on, but Delaware is a small ass state. And, the Marines are kind of exclusive, and, So what I did is I just went to newspapers.com and I typed in, looking for, searching in Delaware newspapers. I just typed in Marine, Korea, wounded, and I put the search dates, 1951 to 1953, Korea, or whatever. And just hoping, because sometimes what happened during Korea and World War II in local papers during these wars back then, they would report on casualties. They would say, Ryan Burns, son of Rick and Pat Burns, was wounded in Korea, blah, blah, blah. And just always in the local paper. And sure enough, I looked through several of these because I was trying to figure out, remember, I had the number of letters in his first name, last name, middle name. And sure enough, I came across somebody named Orville Andrew Lyons was wounded on such and such date during the war. And I was like, well, those letters match up. So I go to ancestry.com and then I type in Orville Andrew Lyons, and this guy from Delaware and this Marine from Delaware who's wounded in Korea, sure enough, in the early 80s, he's living in Mississippi. And I'm like, okay, same guy. So I submitted to the FBI. If I know that somebody's dead, you can submit to the FBI to say, hey, this person's dead. Don't redact them anymore in the FBI files. And sometimes I've had success with that, and sometimes I haven't. So I sent something saying, hey, Orville Lyons is this guy I didn't say he was, I didn't say I believed he's in the FBI files. I just said in the FOIA, I said, look, this guy is in the FBI files and his name is currently being redacted, but he is very much dead. Here's his social security number, date of death, but yada. He's in the social security death index listed. So you attach these things to a FOIA to let them know that the person's dead. I've done that for Ted Braden. I've done that for a couple of suspects who we think might be in the FBI files who haven't showed up yet, just in case, because sometimes the people who do the redacting will over redact. They'll redact a dead person. They don't do enough searching to find out that the person's dead. So, and that's what happened, I guess. So in the next few file releases, there's Orville Andrew Lyons' name, unredacted. Pretty cool. So anyway, Lyons though, his girlfriend reports him missing, or not reports him missing. His girlfriend was watching, I think it must be the In Search of episode, because obviously it's 84, or it's early 80s. So it's the In Search of episode that she saw, because Unsolved Mysteries wasn't until 88. She says she's watching a documentary on DB Cooper and goes, I was dating a guy in the Seattle area who had been part of a smoke jumping team, about the right age, looks like the sketch, disappeared in early 72 or late 71. She couldn't remember exactly, because this is 10 years later. She couldn't remember the exact dates, but she says around that time he just disappeared and I never saw him again. You should look into this guy. So Orville Andrew Lyons. So they submit. So the FBI goes looking for Orville Andrew Lyons. And I guess the FBI can tag your name in a database looking for you. And eventually they find out that they get a contact from the FBI office in Mississippi saying, I don't know if Orville had got in a post office box or something, but the name popped up and rung a bell. It's always interesting for me to look at the early 80s when they don't, but in the days before computers, it makes you wonder how they found anything out like this. But they knew that name was being looked for, and they said, hey, he's in a place called Scuba, Mississippi. Well, he was actually in Tumsuba, Mississippi. We have lots of Indian names in Mississippi. Choctaw, Chickasaw country. Anyway, so they say, hey, they sent a thing to the Seattle office saying, hey, this guy you're looking for the Cooper thing, we've located him. He works at a motel as a handyman in Tumsuba. Shall we go interview him? And Ron Nichols, who is our longest, who I've never talked to, I've tried. He was case agent for 20 years. You don't know his name. Isn't that funny? We know about Himmelsbach. And of course, I interviewed John Detler, who was on the case for about 4 years. Himmelsbach was never even actually a case agent. Okay. He just pretended to be one. But Ron Nichols is the FBI case agent for this case. We know about Larry Carr, but it's Ron Nichols. 20 years. He was the guy. Anyway, so Ron goes, yeah, I go interview him. And I'm going to send you a packet. So there's this packet that's in the FBI files. I put it in my book, but it's in the FBI files. It's like a packet because remember, this is the days before FBI agents don't know about the DB Cooper case unless it's their case, right? It's just whatever. So they would send these packets to these field agents out in different states, and this is your guide to DB Cooper, right? It's pretty nifty thing that Charlie Farrell wrote. And it's this investigative guide for suspects. And for example, when they got to Lyons, I'll show you when they got to Lyons. So they sent this to Jackson, and let me make sure I've got this correct. Sorry, folks. Eesh. Okay, here's an example. Okay. I'll do this. Sorry, people. And this is a pain in the ass to listen to me not say anything. Okay, perfect. This is what we're gonna do. I'll show you what Jackson did is they made this little handy spreadsheet. I love what the Jackson agents did. I'm proud of my Mississippi boys for doing this for Lyons. But they made this handy little guide that they sent to, I'm sure that Nichols was like, this is pretty cool. Thanks, guys. Is they made this investigative guide after they talked to Lyons. Check this out. If you can read that, hopefully you can read that. But it says here, the following similarities versus differences about Lyons are as follows. So it says like Lyons has worked in Portland and also in Seattle, Washington. Lyons has also resided in Phoenix, Arizona, Reno, Nevada, and spent time in Tijuana and Juarez, Mexico. Orville Lyons is described as a white male, 41 years old and 71, 5'10 to 5'11, 160 pounds, and he has been as heavy as 195 pounds. And they do it again. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Let's see what else they've got on Lyons. They do it again. Here. Oh my God. I've got to delete this stupid thing only lets me upload like a certain amount of photos. So I get kind of bonked out. It says, you've uploaded too many pictures. Delete some. Here we go. So it's like, hijacker stated he had a grudge against somebody or something. So it says here, Lyons was discharged from the U.S. military for initially redacted. And also it says, the military authorities have attempted to take away Lyons' Purple Heart, which he resented. It says here, hijacker profile indicates he has flight or airline service experience. Lyons has experience in helicopter and has been in some fixed-wing aircraft, but state he has not flown commercially except for experience in the U.S. military. Well, it was also a smoke jump. He worked on, it's unknown if it was a smoke jumper, but he worked on a smoke jumping air crew. And then it's got Lyons' arrest histories. Hijacker was calm, a loner, not paranoid. Lyons is a loner, had experience as a rifleman in Korea, and Lyons, whatever. Talks about Lyons as a woodsman, Lyons thinks well of women and does not use profane language. He has phallatic interest. Isn't that stamps? Phallatic? It says Lyons has no accent. Lyons said he no longer drinks, but at one time was a heavy drinker. Usually drinks beer, but drinks hard liquor to, quote, impress people. Lyons did not complete high school, but indicated he reads extensively, has had training beyond his high school training, and has developed interest in stamp collecting. Okay. So anyway, the thing about Lyons, though, is that the creepy thing, there's a couple of things about Lyons that are particularly noteworthy that I think that really spooked the FBI. Is that when they go to Lyons for the first time, and this is in the FBI files, when they go to Lyons for the first time and they say, "Hey, I'm Agent Smith and Agent Will Smith and Agent Tommy Lee Jones. We're the men in black." He's with the FBI. Lyons, that says here, Lyons' first question then was, "Is this about the hijacking?" Like, this is in 1984. Okay, if you're approached by FBI agents, you're like, "Is this about the hijacking?" What hijacking? How do you know? Weird, very strange. Then he's limping around, and they say, "What's wrong with your leg? Why are you limping?" And Lyons tells them that he fell out of a tree in fall or winter of 1971, but he can't remember the doctor who inserted the pin into his leg, leaving him with a permanent limp. Okay. So, very dodgy. Okay. And this guy's ugly as hell too. I FOIA'd for the, talk about Cooper being homely. Well, Orville Lyons was homely. This is a photo that they took of him. He aged pretty badly, but here's a photo that they took of Lyons in 84 when he was 41. He'd be 54, I think, at the time. There he is. There's the old timer. So, hey, I mean, not a bad match for the sketch. Has that kind of pointed nose, sort of. Looks like something might be going on with his lip there. His head shape is the right, inverted triangle head shape, wide forehead, higher hairline. I think there's also a side profile that they took of him. And he's got a turkey neck, for sure. There he is. He has that kind of turkey neck thing going on. But this guy was a real drifter and never stayed in one place too long. When they're asking him about the Cooper hijacking, he goes, "Oh yeah, I remember that. That guy got a lot of money, didn't he? I wish that was me. Ha ha." Starts joking with him like, "I wish that was me." But I mean, Lyons was eliminated for some reason, but it's not shown up in the files why he was eliminated. His photos, they did show his photos to the witnesses, which they weren't doing, only in extreme circumstances. That's a memo in the FBI files that says only in extreme circumstances are you to bother these eyewitnesses anymore, because they've been bothered enough, and also they've admitted that they probably wouldn't recognize him anymore. So it's really kind of futile to show a photograph. So they only did it very rarely, post 75 or so. They didn't do it for Ragstraw back in 79, but I know they did it for Lyons. I know that they at least showed LD Cooper's photo to Flo, and Flo liked it a lot. Flo said it's the best she'd ever seen. That was kind of why, that's what piqued the FBI to say this is the best suspect we've had. It's because Flo was like, "That's him," or something like that, to Curtis Ng, and Curtis Ng was like, "Oh, whoa," So are those the only pictures of Lyons I've come across? No. There's a picture of him as a young guy. This is Lyons when he was younger that I found of him. So yeah, we've got that photograph of him. But it would be nice I FOIA'd for clean photos of the ones of him as an old man that I showed earlier. Okay, I must be missing something in the chat. We're talking about Grider. Oh Lord, how did this start? Okay. What are we talking about? All right. Sorry. It's Matt Grider. Speaking of Dan Grider, is it true that he's in possession of Earl Cossey's jump log? No, I don't think so. That would be Grider. Yeah. That guy. No, I have more Earl Cossey stuff probably than Grider does. That's actually Cooper related-ish. That behind me that's got Cossey's signature on it right there from when he packed that he was asked to pack an exact replica. And he was asked by Richard Tucson, the FBI agent, former FBI agent and lawyer who wrote D.B. Cooper Dead or Alive in the early 80s. He said, hey, pack me. I'll pay you to make me an exact replica of the Cooper parachute, the exact way, the exact case, container, everything. Because Tucson was out there hunting for Cooper's stuff at the bottom of the Columbia River. And so that is that. I bought that from the estate. That is the exact replica packed by Cossey. That is an MB6. That's what Cossey packed. So, okay. Gosh. Grider. We're talking about Thomas Jett, Grider. Is he the mystery man from the book? I'm not sure you're talking about. What mystery man? Elizabeth, tell me, what am I missing? The McCoy children are very young. Yeah, I'm not going to say the McCoys are. No, join Jen. We're not, the McCoys are not grifters. Okay. I don't know of Shantae or Rick making any money off this. I mean, they both think their dad was Cooper. And I mean, I've spoken to Shantae a good bit. And I do discuss Lyons in my book. Sure. I talk about, I have a chapter called Investigating Suspects, about how they investigated suspects. And that thing those graphics I was showing you were in my book about how they did this cool spreadsheet about comparing and contrasting, which is kind of like you would do in 9th grade or something. You know, it's kind of neat. Any new ground search? No, I mean, you have to think that if anything was still out there, it would have been found by now, right? Oh, Elizabeth. Yeah. That's I shouldn't say that. All I'll say is that maybe a new suspect coming out at CooperCon being revealed, who is really good. In fact, I will go out and say that this is the best suspect I've ever seen. And easily actually. Like flawless. In fact, I was trying to kill, when I come across suspects, I try to kill them and poke holes in them. It's just what you do, right? But I literally could not poke a hole in this guy. Couldn't do it. Tried. Everything lines up with Cooper. Everything. Perfect. At least to my knowledge of what I expect Cooper to be, I could not poke a hole in this guy. So hopefully, I think we're hoping to get the family, his daughter, who's 70 now, to be there, of this guy. She's the one who bought him out. But yeah, I mean, flawless. Like, I remember when I first was talking to these people, this is real recent, I was emailing and they were sending pictures and things. And it was like the old cartoon of like, oh, I was like, like what's the invasion? The invasion of the body snatchers, right? The Donald Sutherland point. When I came across this guy, I was like, it's Cooper. So really good. Okay. Like I'm super, super excited. And it's one of those things where I shouldn't be saying so much, but I feel I get overzealous. I shouldn't say so much, but no, it really good. What's the suspect's name? Got to come to CooperCon. No, it's really good. Like really, really good. Perfect. I mean, yeah, it's good. Any objective evidence supporting the new PI? Yeah. Like, people say that like it's gonna be like. Remember, people talk about Jack the Ripper, how like they're never gonna be able to prove it, but maybe they could get to an 80% consensus among ripperologists that, hey, this guy is Jack the Ripper. It's kind of that way with Cooper. Like, I mean, absent DNA, absent the hair slide being found and somehow doing forensic genealogy, if the FBI would even do that, then we're never going to know Cooper. There was a discussion we were having recently with Flyjack and some people on the drop zone about this, is how is this going to be solved at this point? And I don't think it can be definitively solved, but we can get to a point. Have fantasized about, well, maybe there could be a suspect who, I don't know, 80% maybe of Cooperites go, probably that guy. And this is that type of suspect. I mean, I've shared this with a few people, and just privately, just to cross check. Like, am I insane? And no, they're like, you're not insane. This is really freaking good. So again, probably not Cooper, because Cooper could be millions of guys, but yeah, amazing suspect. That's all I'll say. I probably shouldn't say anymore, but just as badass as it gets. No one will be able, like, I'm serious. Like, there are no holes. I mean, you would have to like, I tried. He's really good. Yeah, ripperologists. I think that's what they're called. Like, we're Cooperites. I feel, maybe I'm wrong on that. Am I wrong on that? Aren't Jack the Ripper people called like ripperologists? Jude should be in the chat. Jude does Jack the Ripper stuff. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, well, like I said, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Nikki says he thinks the guy lacks one thing. I don't think so. I don't think he likes anything. But he's really good. Actually, some ripperologists have very good evidence as to who Ripper could be. The problem with Ripper's even worse than like Cooper. I mean, again, with Ripper, you're what? That's like 1888. Isn't that right? And so with Cooper, we're a lot closer, but Nikki, don't answer that. Don't betray the confidence, man. But anyway, yeah. So, but Jack the Ripper. If we have trouble finding Cooper, Jack the Ripper's impossible. I mean, how many like low lifes were slumming around Whitechapel, London in the 1880s? Just could have been anybody who's off a boat, some nasty sailor who, I don't know. You never know. I mean, this is a guy who killed prostitutes. Those guys are, even today, people who kill prostitutes can go on for decades doing this. So people keep saying it's Aaron Kaminsky. No, the problem is the DNA does not prove it. All the DNA, it would be so easy to defend Kaminsky in a trial. Yeah, they found some of his DNA on a shawl of Catherine Eddowes, I think. Is that right? And like, all that proves is that, I say, Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Miss Eddowes, rest her soul, was a woman of the night. To find a man's DNA on her person does not mean that that man killed her. It means that he was one of her Johns. That's all that means. Does that mean anything? So, Ripper is just, there's nothing on Ripper. I mean, Jack will never be solved. Well, no, how could it be? Vlogging Through History did a great job debunking Kaminsky. Oh, yeah. Chris, my buddy. I need to get Chris to review one of my videos again. Chris is a good egg. I love Chris. Jack hurt people. Cooper didn't hurt people. No, not in that way, at least. I mean, Cooper did a bad thing, and his copycat, there were copycats who were killed. There were passengers killed in copycat attempts. So Cooper's children, you would call them, hurt people, and people died as a result of DB Cooper. So no, Cooper's not blameless. People did die because of him. Martin McNally spent 38 years in prison because of Cooper, right? I mean, lives were changed because of things DB Cooper did. He is not a blameless person. Oh, great. KY says, Chris is actually, Vlogging Through History is actually how I found your channel, and I'm glad he brought me here. I've learned so much about the case. Yep. Peterson was CIA? What? Who? It's about Sheridan Peterson was CIA? No, he wasn't. I mean, I agree. You can cross Baldy off the list. Sheridan Peterson was bald. Not CNA. Not CIA, though. Sheridan was like a... Yeah, no, I don't think so. This is saying that there's no proof that the shawl actually belonged to the victim. Yeah, I mean, again, we're talking about a hair slide and a tie being contaminated. Imagine a shawl in the London, Scotland Yard. How would they know? I mean, who it came from? Yeah, Crazy Mac did 30 years. Yep. DNA 86 for the first time. I write about that in my book. It was, that guy's name was something really strange, like Cheeseburger or something. Like it was, what was that? What was that dude's name? Let me find that dude's name. It was like Cheeseburger or something like that. Where is my sorry. Here we go. Yeah. Alec Jeffries was the guy who did it. What was this cat's name? It had a weird name, the guy who they caught. Pitchfork. That was it. Pitchfork is in, yeah. Pitchfork. Like Alan Pitchfork or something like that. Yeah, and the way they got him is, let me just, hell, why not? Y'all are here, so you can hang out. This is the opening of my DNA chapter. So in 1984, a young scientist at the University of Leicester named Alec Jeffries created a process called DNA fingerprinting. Even though all humans share 99.9% of their DNA with one another, his innovation allowed him to locate and identify the 0.01% difference that makes each human entirely unique. Jeffries would be knighted by Queen Elizabeth II in 1994, later admitted that assisting law enforcement was the last thing he ever envisioned his process would be used for. Thus, it was to his surprise when a local detective at the Leicester Constabulary approached him about the possibility of using DNA as a means of finding the killer of 2 teenage girls. Presented with the clothing the girls were murdered in, Jeffries located identical DNA on both sets of clothes. With assurances from Jeffries that he could identify the killer if presented with a comparable sample, the world's first DNA manhunt began. All male residents between the ages of 17 and 34 from local cities would be asked to provide samples. Detectives realized the flaw in their plan. It was highly improbable that the killer would freely submit to providing a sample. Yet they hoped that the testing still might flush him out somehow. Their hope became a reality when a group of friends at a local pub were discussing the testing. During this conversation, one of the friends admitted that their coworker, Colin Pitchfork, had convinced them to take the blood test on his behalf, using Pitchfork's name when submitting the sample. When this information reached detectives in Leicester, they confronted Pitchfork about the accusations and were eventually able to obtain blood samples from him. Sent to Jeffries' lab, the samples from Pitchfork were confirmed to be a match to the samples taken from the clothing of the murder victims. Faced with such evidence, Pitchfork pled guilty to the murders and would receive a life sentence, becoming the first person in history to be convicted of crime on account of DNA evidence. Noting the extreme potential that DNA held for forensic investigations, the FBI were early proponents of this new technology. In 1990, they created the Combined DNA Index System, CODIS, which is a DNA database that allows federal, state, and local crime laboratories to exchange and compare DNA profiles electronically. To assist in the collection of samples for CODIS, Congress passed the DNA Analysis Backlog Elimination Act, in 2000 that authorized the collection of DNA samples from all federal offenders in custody at the time, and also from everyone in the future who was arrested for a federal offense. So think about that. Isn't that crazy? So yeah, but a lot of people don't know that, is that if you were arrested for a federal crime, they will take your DNA and add it to CODIS. So yeah, pretty neat. All right. Constabulary. Pitchfork had cheeseburgers with Ron Nichols. Pitchfork had cheeseburgers with Glenn Tripp, the 3 cheeseburgers and a Head Start guy. Okay, ask me some questions, people. Let's talk more Cooper. Pitchfork. Nicole got it. Yeah, thank you. Here's a question. I know there are pics that contradict that, but don't you think it's too much of a coincidence to find stair lowering instructions in the forest exactly in the drop zone? No. Okay, so you're talking about the placards. Those placards came off of planes regularly, okay, because they're not internal, they're external. The ones they found were external. So the placards, apparently, we have a guy in the group, Aaron Richardson, in the Facebook group. Again, if you're not on my Facebook group, go join my Facebook group. Go on Facebook, type in the official DB Cooper group, request, and then refresh, and you're automatically in it. It makes you request, but it automatically lets you in if you refresh it. So anyway, yeah, DB Cooper, the official DB Cooper Facebook group. Also check out the DB Cooper mystery group as well. But no, anyway, Aaron Richardson is a member of our group, and a big Cooperite, and he was I believe a flight mechanic for a long time, and worked on 727s throughout his career. And he said those came off all the time, that they had a stack of those in the mechanics, shed or whatever. They would just smack them onto the planes when they'd come off. So finding one of those, and they found 2 of them actually. So there's actually 2 placards that they found, not just one, at different times. So there's actually two placards saying that they came from DNA, saying that this came from the Cooper plane, floating around at different museums or wherever they are. So, but none of them are from the plane. Okay, we know that because the plane was not missing those. And I think that someone like Flyjack or Georgia found out that that type of placard wasn't even used on Flight 305 anyway. So it doesn't matter. Do you find it odd that in theory Cooper may have offered the 3 stewardesses $2,000 each and that $6,000 was found at Tina Bar? I mean, maybe. I mean, at a certain point, it's fun to indulge in conspiracy theories about Tina Bar because if we go with if we just go with the science, okay, that Tom K is proposing, then it's buried by a person there, according to Tom, according to his science. Well, it doesn't have to be buried by a person there, but it got wet in winter time. In springtime. So it didn't get wet the night of the hijacking. It's got springtime diatoms on it. So the water landing in the water that night didn't happen. Okay. Number 2, there is no silt on it. Okay. Now silt, money, remember the money bundle is going to sink. If you throw a money bundle in a river or a lake or a bathtub, it'll sink. Okay. Now it could tumble around the bottom of the ocean or the bottom of the river maybe, but it's not going to float along the top like, a raft. So the only way it's really getting put there, it could get pushed there by a flood. Now, when you see a flood, all that, and sad, we have the recent flash flood in Texas, but flood water is muddy because it's pushing all the dirt up and stuff. So it's really brown. You'll see floods. It's always brown water, like really nasty water, like diarrhea water. It's nasty. And that's silt. And so you would expect to find silt on something that was moved by a flood. Tom says there is no silt on the there. So, that makes you think it was buried there. But again, just Occam's razor says if it's found 30 feet from a river below the high tide mark or below the flood mark, at least, then, it probably got pushed there somehow. But why would someone throw it in the river? Why would someone bury it there? Who the hell knows? Like I said, I would speculate that Cooper himself didn't know how the money got there. It makes me always think about Cooper watching TV and going, "Oh shit, there's my money." right? Yeah, there is no BYU tie. That's so stupid. The McCoy grift, it said that this is his tie. Well, it's a clip-on tie. Okay, yeah, Mormons wear clip-on ties. So do some military guys. Doesn't really matter. All right, yeah, the tie pin is definitely not unique. You can find those on eBay. Go type in Stacy's tie pin. You can get the DB Cooper tie clip behind me for $10 on eBay. They are not hard to find. Okay. What happens to CooperCon Facebook groups and these type of activities if Cooper's ID'd? We become the Tina Bar mystery group, I guess, because like I said, I don't think Cooper. I don't even think Cooper knows how money got to Tina Bar. I don't know. It's a good question. If Cooper's ID'd, then I mean, that's what we all want. At least I want Cooper. I want to know who Cooper is before I'm dead. So I don't know. I guess we would just become a community of friends. We'll move on. I guess the best analog would be the treasure hunt. What's his face? I'm getting old. Forrest Fenn. Yeah, the Forrest Fenn thing was solved. You're going to have people who don't accept it. Just like the Forrest Fenn thing, that are people who they have a name. Nikki, what's the name of those people who don't believe the Forrest Fenn? Or Packers in the chat. Packers a big Fenn guy. They have like a name, like 15%ers or 5%. I don't know what they're called. People who believe that that the Fenn stuff hasn't been found. So you'll have the same thing. 7%ers, says Packer Jack. Thank you, Packer. So yeah, there's going to be people who don't believe it no matter what. They're people who have suspects of their own are going to say, oh, well, it can't be that guy, because it's my guy. It can't be that. It's William J. Smith or whoever. So, and again, what's going to solve this? Like I said, I don't think we'll ever, you may get there may be a somewhat consensus that this guy is Cooper, but not going to solve it. No, yeah. So didn't Grider claim Cossey signed the parachute but never showed proof? No, he was being sneaky when he said that. I need to do a reaction to that, don't I? I need to do a reaction to those McCoy videos that he did. Because no, he's saying that it's as unique as a signature. He's saying that the nasty stitching on this parachute it's Cossey's signature. It's as unique as his signature. Yeah, because Cossey's going to be a terrible... No, people who make parachutes don't... You talk to Mark Meltzer and other parachute guys, they're not stingy, they're not crappy with the parachutes that they do. The riggers know how to do this stuff. People's lives depend on it. Like, they could be sued and lose everything. They're not. And again, Cossey didn't modify the Cooper shoots. That's what Grider never understood. It's just stupid. Ryan, you should hold a Cooper lookalike contest at CooperCon. Then you could have different contestants walk by and subsequently have people describe each of them. Yeah, it reminds me in law school, I know that they've done this before many times in experiments, and one of our law professors did it too. In our criminal class, we had somebody run into the room randomly. It was weird. It was like he had prearranged the professor. Somebody ran into the room and made a scene, started yelling at people for a minute, and then ran out of the classroom, this big classroom. And then the professor's like, okay, that was an act. I need you all to describe this person. Tell us his height, his hair color, his hairstyle. What about him, his nose, And then he came back in after we written it down, and we're like, oh man, we were way off or whatever. So people are all over the place. So that was a fun experiment, at least to show you that eyewitness accounts are sketchy or dubious. Yeah, the Ariel store did one every day. Did one every year, the Cooper lookalike contest. Yeah. Heard Grider is starting a K-pop group. Grider. Oh, damn. Oh, here's Big Ed. What are your thoughts on DB Cooper's shoot selection? Some say he chose based on military. However, he had no idea what kind of shoots he would get. Random selection or something more. No, I think he chose the better. I think he just chose the more modern parachute. If you look at the shoots he was given, I mean, and if he's given what Cossey said he was given, if he's given an MB6, let me see if I have that animation to show everybody. Do I have? Here we go. Let's look at his parachute choices for Cooper and study these. Okay, so this is what Cooper's given essentially. We don't know what the training reserve looked like. Okay, but we know what the MB6 looked like. We know what an MB6 looks like. We know what that picture of the P2B24. Thanks to Flyjack for figuring that out. That is from the museum, and that reserve chute is what a T7 reserve looks like. Okay, actually it's very similar. So really, what Cooper did is he chose the more modern one. Now, when we say when we say manufactured, when you say manufactured, like on a packing card, they're talking about the canopy. Okay, talking about the canopy being manufactured. So if Cooper looked at two things, you could just look at those parachutes, and Cooper could have realized an MB6 just looks more modern than this B-24, which is from World War II. I mean, and that's the actual parachute Cooper looked. That's the actual one that Cooper looked at because that's the museum chute. So Cooper looked at that, and then Cooper looked at a thing like the one behind me, and just chose it. But if he looked at the packing cards, which we think Cooper looked at the packing cards, then the packing cards told him that the canopy and the tan one was 57, and the canopy and the green one is 60. So Cooper chose the newer backpack style and also chose the newer canopy. So I think it's that simple, Ed. I think he just picked the one that looked best. And I think it's just that simple. He just chose the more modern chute. I mean, think of it as a getaway car. Do you want a 2009 Honda Accord or a 2000, Camry? Well, you're gonna take the newer one all the time. You just pick the newer one. I want the 2009 car. I don't want the car from 2000. So I think Cooper but that is very telling though, that Cooper didn't specify. He just said, "Give me chutes," because that's what the hijackers who weren't skydivers did. Mac just said, "Give me 6 parachutes," and they give him 6 front reserves. He goes, "You're trying to kill me," but he goes, "Where's the backpacks?" And Mac didn't care because he was running late at that point. But yeah, they gave Mac 6 front reserves like that. That's what they gave Mac to jump with, and he jumps out 330 miles an hour wearing just one of those things, and lives. So specify, right? I mean, think about this. Think about Dom Toretto in the Fast and the Furious movies. The guy is a car guy. If Dom is going to be given a getaway car, I want the G5000, V8, blah, 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 blah. Dom Toretto isn't going to go, Vin Diesel isn't going to go, "I want a car." What kind of car? Just because they're gonna give you a friggin' gremlin or something. Don't blame us. You just asked for a car. Here's your Pinto. Well, I mean, you're expecting a Mustang or something, and here's a Pinto. So don't just say, "I want a car." You can say anything. You've got a plane hostage. Cooper. I mean, McCoy. Even though McCoy brought his own parachute with him, he still just in case. McCoy still asked for Commander brand whatever he asked for, whatever the type brand was, what it was, but something Commander brand of Pioneer chutes from. And he said, didn't want them to come from Perry Stevens's, which I have Perry Stevens's signature. It's funny, I have Earl Cossey signing that packing card, and Perry Stevens signs that packing card too, which is neat. But he said, "I want it from Perry Stevens's parachute loft in Oakland." Okay, you have a plane hostage. We'll give it to you. So yeah, Cooper just said, give me parachutes. They could have given him anything. They could have given him a Red Baron parachute from War I for all he knew. So yeah. Yeah, there you go. Nikki said it best. Cooper had the motor oil is motor oil attitude when it came to his gear. I don't care. So it just shows it shows that Cooper wasn't a skydiver for one thing, because he would have been more picky about it. we know that our skydiving copycats brought their own parachutes with them. They're just not going to trust whatever. But think about this. If you're a military jumper, military guys are used to just jumping with whatever. They just trust equipment. There are men in the military whose MOS is parachute rigging. So you trust, just like you trust the cook, just like you trust the military cook not to put poison in your food at the chow hall, they trust the parachute riggers to not give them crappy parachutes. So he was a military parachutist, I think. I think, because we do have, unlike Mac, who had to be shown how to put on a parachute, Cooper knew what he was doing, at least, or appeared to know what he was doing with parachutes. So there's that. Okay. Given his evident familiarity with parachutes and the generation he was a part of, is it really conceivable that Cooper had no military service? Maybe. But just think about the number of suspects we have who weren't in the military. None. Verdal and Dick Lepsey are the only named ones that I know of, who weren't in the military. And which is ironic. It's kind of funny. I've joked about this before with you guys, but it's kind of funny that Verdal likely contributed to the deaths of far more people than anybody else, despite being in the military. Verdal saved the, I guess it was Fat Man, I think was it Fat Man or Little Boy that was the Nagasaki Hanford site bomb, but whatever it was, that was Verdal who, literally he got like the thanks of Congress or something after the war or something like that. It's one of the only things in Verdal's obituaries. He was proud of it. I bet Verdal wrote his own obituary too. Knowing Verdal, he wrote his own obituary, which his obituary is funny. Nikki, maybe I'm wrong, but I think Verdal's obituary just shows what kind of nerd he was. The only obituary ever for Verdal was in some like metallurgist magazine. It was like some nerd magazine. But it mentions he gets the thanks of Congress for solving some fuel equation that like they were going to have to cancel the bomb. And like Verdal was such a nerd. He was like, I can do this, and got a slide rule out and did it. So Verdal killed a lot more people than anybody else. Eat your heart out, Ted Braden, I guess. This is the old Max says dismiss all suspects without parachute experience. I'm kind of with you. That's my main problem with Milton Verdal is there's no proof he ever jumped. And I think Cooper did. Which is my thing. Why is Ted Braden ruled out if he's a military guy? Well, if you must know, sorry. Hey, like I said, I'm an apostate of the Braden camp. Apparently, none of those guys talk to me anymore for some reason. I'm sorry, but I guess because I show this photograph every now and then. But I'm sorry if it hurts people's feelings. But look, Ted Braden's a little guy. Look at that. Ted Braden's squat, short. The people who saw Cooper standing said 6'1" plus, 6'1", 6 foot, 5'10" to 6 feet, 5'10" to 5'11", 6'1". So Ted Braden's 5'7", maybe. I think when he was arrested as an old man, I think the police put him up against the wall and said 5'6" or something. So Ted's small. It's just preposterous for me. I would talk about height a lot, but like, I really can't fathom. It's hard for me to fathom anybody who's 5'6" or 5'7" or 5'8" being mistaken by multiple people for being 6 feet or even taller than 6 feet. Like that's my height. I think Nikki's like 5'8". Like there's photographs of me and Nikki together, and he's smaller than me. Obviously, and again, it's not just like eyeballing. It's not just like people who are taller have longer bodies and things, right? Your features are longer, arms are longer, torso. So you can tell when someone's tall and someone's not tall. So I just think Cooper's 5'11", 6 feet tall, something like that. As an aside, I firmly believe that Cooper had to have been a smoker or an ex-smoker. I'm an actor and I've seen non-smokers smoke for the camera. They get at most 7 or 8 drags before they need a break. Yeah. Look, and Cooper doesn't even drink anything. Think about that. Cooper is chain smoking. I mean, Tina is a smoker herself, former smoker. Tina uses the term smoked incessantly when they're circling. So Cooper smoked 7 cigarettes. There's no indication Cooper smoked any cigarettes once they landed. So Cooper really smokes. They're circling for 2 hours. Cooper smokes 7 cigarettes in 2 hours. That's chain smoking. And doesn't need anything to drink. I do think Cooper got a drink when he went in the bathroom, probably out of the sink, but like, you're going to want something to drink if you're pretend smoking, which again, there's no reason to pretend smoke. Most of the country smoked anyway. It just wasn't a thing, back then. Nikki's 5'6" about Braden's height. Yeah. Cooper smoked to control his stress. Yes. Yeah, there's no question he was a smoker. I agree. I mean, and again, you're going to make yourself sick during your hijacking? No. What's really stupid is that like Griders like McCoy, the McCoy people say Grider, they say the McCoy was fake smoking. Well, then why do you not fake smoke your second hijacking? Was the drink empty when it spilled? We don't know that, but my guess is probably. I bet Cooper only spilled his ice because he didn't make a mess. Like the stewardesses never knew that Cooper spilled anything. Only Bill saw that. So, also, Bill says that the stewardess spilled a drink. No. Bill says in his 302 to the FBI that the man first came to his attention, Cooper, when he spilled his drink. Shortly after, I saw a stewardess sit down next to him and fill out a form, presumably to order a new drink. That's what he thought. He thought that Cooper spills his drink and the girl sits down next to him to order a new drink. So it sounds like Cooper spills his drink not long before the hijacking begins. And also because he didn't make a mess that the girls had to clean up, he was able to clean it up himself. I bet it was ice. Think about how, like, if you spilled those little cups of ice, you could just push it back into your cup or something and just put your tray up, and it's not too big of a deal. If he had spilled a drink, it'd have been all over the carpet and stuff. So I think that my guess is Cooper's drink was already drank when he spilled it. Just trying to be logical there. Yep. Yes, very cool. Yeah, Nikki got a copy. Nikki was sent Tina Mucklow's Bible by Tina's ex-husband and gave it back to her. So, because the ex-husband didn't know how to get in touch with Tina. So, yep. So we had a relic from the Cooper hijacking. Not the one she's carrying in the picture. Remember, this is not, that photograph is not the Bible. It has been listed in books as as a Bible. Where's that photograph? There it is. Yeah. In this photograph of Tina coming off the plane, she has her tissues there because she's been crying. She had let her hair down, which is interesting because she'd have had her hair in a bow during the hijacking. So she had let it down at some point in the plane, holding her tissues, crying, and then she's holding this giant book here. Because she later became a nun, some people in books say, oh, she's holding a Bible. In fact, that is a book, that is a very large biography of Mary, Queen of Scots that Tina was reading and didn't want to part with. So kind of neat. Nikki sells cookies door to door. Did Cooper threaten her life? Did Cooper threaten Tina's life? Absolutely. Hell, do I have that clip of Tina? Yeah, here we go.
I'm very sure that we had a very real and horrifying threat. I'm very sure.
Tina, it's bad audio, but she's saying, he made me feel very sure that we had a very real and horrifying threat. So yes. Hey, Swampson. New viewer. Thank you. Loving my content. Yes. Who is the best suspect that was not known to be alive after 71? Lee Seller. For sure. Lee Seller was yeah. Nikki said exactly. Cooper told Tina, I will not be taken alive. I will not be taken off this plane. And he told Flo Schaffner, all they have to do is attach this wire to this thing here and we'll all be dead. And he basically said the same thing to Tina, because we have Tina right there saying he made me feel very sure that we had a very real and horrifying threat. So yes, he definitely. And it was not road flares. Road flares are, although I think Flyjack found some road flares that are smaller, but generally road flares are longer, so you don't get like a Roman candle. You don't burn your hand when you turn them on, when you open them. Probably was a fake bomb, but it was a very good-looking fake bomb. Yeah, Lee Seller's the best suspect not known to be alive. It was Melvin Wilson. It was Melvin Wilson until we found out that Melvin Wilson had fathered a kid out of wedlock, and the kid was conceived in like February of 72. Melvin Wilson was never found again, although I'm pretty sure I found Melvin Wilson living in Florida and dying in the early 2000s. But anyway, Melvin Wilson was our best suspect in the dead camp, but now it's Lee Seller. Yeah, the road flares are just. McCoy used an empty pistol. No, I don't think it was empty. I mean, he sent a bullet up to the front of the plane. I don't think it was. I bet it was loaded. I mean, McCoy was a military guy. He would have had a loaded pistol. It didn't make a difference whether it's loaded or not. You're not going to get brownie points from a judge at a sentencing because your pistol was not loaded or not. It just doesn't matter. Yes, and it was a paperweight hand grenade. That's for sure. That he was using a paperweight hand grenade. But again, this is the problem with copycats. And I had this discussion with Flyjack recently about Heinemann. Is like, why do you do it so differently? If all the copycats, it's kind of interesting. You can always tell with the copycats that they have the conception of the hijacking, but not the details. Because every one of the copycat hijackings is different from each other. None of them emulate Cooper, really. They only emulate Cooper in the broad strokes. Hijack a plane, ask for money, jump out. Nothing else is like Cooper. I mean, very, very rarely do you see things in these copycat hijackings that are really similar to Cooper, really. So it's just a concept that is similar to Cooper. But, for example, Heinemann let his passengers, when Heinemann's let his passengers go, he's in the back of the plane, kind of where Cooper is, near the back. And he lets the stairs be lowered behind him and has all the passengers file off past him as he mean mugs them as they go by, in full view of all of them. So Cooper was very cautious to have everything in front of him. Okay. And Cooper demanded, you're going to go out the front door to get the parachutes and money. Passengers are going to go out the front door. The stairs not coming down. Because, you put the stairs down and you're in the back of the plane, the FBI can just run up and grab you real quick. Right? So why would you, if you're Cooper, why would you not do everything you can to exactly emulate or at least improve upon your hijacking? You wouldn't do things worse. It is, Flyjack had an excuse for it, but sorry, Fly, if you're watching, but it's not better to let the passengers go out the back, no matter what, than to go out the front. That's stupid. Why would you do that? So, no. What weapons did LaPointe and Rob Hetty use? LaPointe used a bomb, a fake bomb. But I believe it turned out to be it's been variously described as almost like Roman candles. And then some people said it was actually a decent looking bomb. My LaPointe files are coming soon from the FBI. I FOIA'd for all the hundreds of pages of LaPointe. LaPointe's hijacking is not discussed a lot. There's not a lot out there with the media on that. And LaPointe never talked about it. Sadly, he was the youngest hijacker, the youngest copycat, and he would be late 70s, mid 70s now, even maybe. But he died in a hurricane or an ice storm, I think, in Vermont, where he lived. He had in 2003, I think, he had a illness that required him to have a oxygen tank or something like this. And during this ice storm, his electricity went out and he ended up dying. So LaPointe's dead, but I'm getting his files. It's interesting. But he used a bomb, and it turned out he had a pistol with him that he never showed anybody. That's why I think Cooper had a pistol. Every single hijack, every single one of these guys had a pistol, either hidden or on them. Okay. McCoy used a pistol during the hijacking. Heinemann used a pistol during the hijacking, displayed it. Hetty used a pistol, but LaPointe had a hidden pistol. Mack had a hidden pistol that nobody saw. So Cooper had a hidden pistol. He had to. Cooper had to have a secondary threat in case the bluff was called on his bomb, right? So that's what's going on. McCoy died in a shootout. Yeah, he did. McCoy said, I'm not going to be taken alive. And he got ratted out by his accomplice, almost positively, almost certainly. Melvin Walker was his accomplice during his escape from prison. Melvin Walker was a devious bastard of a guy. I mean, this guy was in the FBI's 10 most wanted. Okay. He was sentenced to something like 50 years in 1969. He breaks out, breaks out 5 years later, breaks out of prison, a federal prison, max federal prison with McCoy 5 years later. They kidnap people. They rob banks. They steal cars. Okay. And yet, when they're captured, Melvin Walker is conveniently down the road. He drops McCoy off to go in the house alone. And it's convenient and tells McCoy, I'm going to drive around the block or whatever, just to make sure nobody's following us. And so, yeah. But Melvin Walker, though, despite being sentenced for like four armed robberies and bank robberies and being FBI's 10 most wanted in the late 60s and being given 50 years, and then escaping and doing kidnappings and burglaries and bank robberies, that dude gets paroled in 1981. That dude's paroled 7 years later. Max spent 38 years in prison. Now, granted, he kept trying to escape, but that's kind of my point, is like Melvin Walker got a deal. He was tired of running. Look, I have defended many clients in federal court. Okay. There's only one way you don't serve the majority of the time you're sentenced to, for violent crimes. I mean, you got to be like given extremely preferential treatment for some reason. Okay. And I have zero doubt that Melvin Walker was a rat and turned in himself and McCoy for favors to be let out on parole earlier. Now, remember, now our guys like Rob Hetty and this is a real tragedy of McCoy. McCoy thought he wouldn't be parole eligible until his kids were like in their 30s or something. And that just devastated him. He was so close to his kids and he just wanted to escape because he wanted to see his kids again. But the sad irony is that he could have just stayed put and he'd have been out in 5-6 years. LaPointe and Hetty only served 6-7 years and they're released because their crime was determined to be PTSD Vietnam induced, which it was. These guys would not have normally hijacked planes, but they were messed up from the war. McCoy was the same way. McCoy was, had PTSD and it gave him suicidal tendencies. We have in the FBI files for him, suicidal tendencies. Make sure he doesn't kill himself, right? McCoy was suicidal because he had PTSD really badly. And LaPointe said at his trial that he said, I can't get an image out of my head. LaPointe was a door gunner in Vietnam on a Huey. And he said, I cannot get the image of cutting a man in half with a machine gun out of my head. He said, I machine gunned a man and just cut him in half. like a sword cut him in half. He said, I always see that image in my head and I can't ever get it out of my head. So he was suffering. And what's sad is when LaPointe jumped out, for those who don't know about LaPointe is our Wooderson. If you've seen Dazed and Confused, Matthew McConaughey, right? All right. That's LaPointe. LaPointe looks just like Matthew McConaughey in Dazed and Confused. All right. I've been arrested, man. You got any weed? Be a lot cooler if you did. So yes, LaPointe is our youngest copycat. He was 21 and looks like McConaughey. All right. But anyway, when he jumped out, he landed in the snow and basically broke his ankle. It sprained it so bad he had to be in a wheelchair for weeks. But at his arraignment, he's in his wheelchair. And the judge says, son, don't worry about it. We will get you some health, some mental. It says, we'll get you some health care for your ankle. It says, no, it says, son, you'll get some free health care for your ankle. And LaPointe's response was, how about some free mental care? Because like my brain's not going so good. So that's the tragedy of LaPointe there. But Ryan, please share the Thanksgiving dinner story shortly before they landed in Seattle. Oh, okay. So, I don't want to call anyone a liar who was on Flight 305. But people do embellish stories. People do embellish stories about things in their lives. Jack Olmstead, who was a pastor on the plane, Jack Olmstead told the media when he was interviewed randomly, he's still alive, by the way. I should get him to CooperCon. But Olmstead told the media in an interview in the early 2010, something like that. He said that when he was he went to the back of the plane to stand in line to go to the bathroom, and that he made a joke with Cooper, with who turned out to be Cooper. He didn't know it was Cooper. He said it was a girl and the guy. He said he made a joke, and that he said, "Gosh, if we keep circling up here." So something like the after service Thanksgiving dinner on the plane. I don't think so, because we have Jack Olmstead's 302, where he was clearly asked, did you see the guy? Did you see a guy in the back of the plane? Do you have anything? Did anything happen on the plane? Yada yada yada. Olmstead says, no, I didn't see nothing, and anything like that. So if Olmstead is standing in line standing above DB Cooper and Tina and makes a joke with them, I think he would have mentioned that. Same goes for Feingold. Okay, Larry Feingold told the FBI the night of the hijacking, I didn't see shit. And he was kind of in front of the coach section. So he was pretty up front. He said, I didn't see anything. Yet, fine. And then we have him in 73 or so saying, I didn't see anything, telling somebody. But then we have him in an interview in 2015 or something saying that I think I got a real good look at him. And it's like, you didn't. I don't think so. Michael Cooper's the same way. We have Michael Cooper the night of the hijacking saying, I didn't see a damn thing. I didn't see anybody behind me or whatever. But then we have him saying now that he did get a good look at Cooper. And it's like, I don't think so. I just don't see it. Ryan, as a prosecutor, what's the minimum evidence that you think you would need to convict Cooper as a suspect? Would just putting him in Portland that day be enough? No. Well, I mean, again, it all depends on the jury, right? I mean, a jury can convict you on anything, right? And we learned that. We studied that in law school about, so for example, the ones that we looked at, I remember in law school, were the ones we did really deep dives into were the Scott Peterson trial and the OJ trial, of course. Point is that OJ had a literal blood trail from the crime scene to his house, basically. I mean, OJ had overwhelming physical evidence that he did it, and he gets off. Scott Peterson had no physical evidence that he did it. It's all circumstantial, and he was convicted. So the point is that like you can convict somebody on circumstantial evidence alone, and you can have all the physical evidence in the world, but if you're a clever lawyer and you have a jury who is sympathetic to you, they can get off. I'll tell you y'all a story too. When I was a prosecutor, we had a murder in Chula, Mississippi, which is a small backwater. Okay, these two guys got into it over a girl. They're at a juke joint, we call them. These little like bars in the middle of nowhere, and they get into it about a girl. Okay, and guy number one and his buddy drive off. They're mad or whatever. They drive off, and guy number two jumps in a car with his buddy, and says, "Hey, chase them down." So I told the jury, I said, like a Bond villain. He said, "After them." And they're going down the road, and they're going on the highway. And guy number two gets alongside the car of guy number one on the highway, pulls out a fully automatic AK-47, fires a 30-round banana clip into this car, okay, blows the driver's chest out, kills him instantly, blows the arm off the passenger, just took his arm right off. And then the car goes flipping off the highway, okay? So Mississippi does not have attempted murder. A lot of states don't have attempted murder anymore because proving intent is difficult. Okay, you have to prove that you intended to kill the person when you shot them. That's hard. So generally, most places will have murder, and then they'll have like aggravated assault, okay, which just means you could have killed somebody by harming them, okay? And that's an automatic 20 years in prison. It's kind of replaced attempted murder a little bit because attempted murders, too many people were charged with attempted murder were getting off because, like I said, I mean, I shot the guy, but how do you know that I intended to kill the guy? You're a mind reader, so that's kind of difficult. But anyway, so this guy gets charged with murder for killing the driver, obviously, and then an aggravated assault for wounding the passenger. And there is no defense. He's got 3 guys in the car with him who, we charge them with murder too at our DA's office. And we get them in our office and say, look, it's just like your mother always says, mind the company you keep, right? And it's true. If you're an accessory to something, your penalty is the same. Okay, your accomplices can be the same. So we told these guys, we were like, look, you can get life in prison too, just for being an accessory, like this, and so do you want to testify at trial? So his 3 guys, the driver of the second car and 2 other guys testified against the guy at trial. Yeah. He did it. Everybody at the juke joint testified. Yep. They were getting in a fight. I mean, it was obvious. And they found the murder weapon at this guy's house. There was no defense. Like literally there was no defense. The defense attorney just didn't even try. There's just nothing to do. So, but the jury comes back. Okay, I remember very quickly. It didn't take long. And of course, so when a jury comes up with a verdict, the verdict first goes to the judge, and the judge looks at it. Okay, and then says, "What is your, foreman of the jury? What is your verdict?" And then you go down, jury number 1, jury number 2. Do you agree? Do you agree? Do you agree? Is this what you wanted? Well, okay, we got a slam dunk murder case, right? So the judge, though, her eyes go, when she reads it, she goes, and I go, that's not a good sign. What's this about? And she goes, okay. She goes, foreman of the jury, what is your verdict to count 1 of this guy, whatever? Count 1. Okay. So count 1, aggravated assault. Guilty. Obviously. Count 2, murder, not guilty. What? I remember being like, well, who the hell killed the guy? Like, I mean, a gun, it's like if you went and burned somebody's house down and you killed a person in the house from fire and you burned someone almost to death in the house. And they say, wait, but you're only guilty of burning the guy who's alive, not killing the guy. Well, how's that been possible? Well, I ran down one of the jurors after the trial, which we can do. And I was like, hey, ma'am, what in the world happened in that jury room? Well, this is called jury nullification, kids. When juries can do whatever the hell they want to do. This is a small town, Mississippi. Everybody knows everybody, okay, where this took place. Well, the guy who died needed killing. He was a drug dealer in the community and no one liked him. So he needed killing. They didn't care that he had been killed. So what? But they still wanted to punish the guy for doing something. So they punished him for 20. He got 20 years to serve in prison day for day for aggravated assault. But yeah, crazy, huh? But yeah, pretty nuts. But yeah, so yeah, the juries can do whatever they want to do. So, but as far as what you would need to convict Cooper, it depends on the evidence. I mean, I really think that. I think you would have to find physical evidence from the crime on somebody for them to be guilty of Cooper. Because remember, a jury in a criminal case, all 12 jury members have to agree, right? All 12 have to agree. It just takes one holdout to hang a jury, okay? And so I think that for Cooper, you would need to have physical evidence. You're talking about OJ. Of course, OJ did it. I mean, come on, people. Like, that's not, duh. I mean, the sky is blue, right? That's OJ's guilty. Of course he was guilty. DNA, fingerprints, confession, that's all Ryan on Cooper. Well, sure. I mean, yeah, if your DNA matched the hair slide, sure, you're guilty. I mean, that's not much. But I'm just talking about you would not have that problem. Well, I mean, another thing too, the feds usually don't mess up. Okay. I'm not sure I've ever seen, in my experiences, I've done this, I guess next year will be my 20th year doing law and as a lawyer, as a practicing attorney. And so I don't think I've ever seen, as a practicing criminal attorney for 20 years, I don't think I've ever seen the feds. Look, the feds have never arrested a client of mine who wasn't guilty. Okay. I've never seen them do a trial where the person was guilty. Local Andy Griffith sheriffs and things can mess up things and arrest the wrong people or do things that get the case dismissed. If the feds have you, you're screwed. If the FBI has you, you're toast. Not good. I think that's why the Richard Jewell thing. It's good. It's a good movie, by the way. Richard Jewell is so rare that he was basically fingered by the FBI for doing something and didn't do it. Like that generally doesn't happen. They're a lot better than that. How long have you been looking at the Cooper case? 5 years? No. My first post on like the forums was in 2015, and I got into it around 2008 because of Larry Carr's outreach. So, and sniffed around places like the DZ back then. I was like, oh, geez, these people are assholes. I don't want to be a part of this. But it wasn't until I got my law practice established where I could have a hobby. Okay. I mean, my law business kind of runs itself these days. That's how I have so much time to do this stuff. A lot of lawyers play golf. I'm just able to do this. So all day, but, it took me a while to get here. So I wasn't really able to do much other than work for a long time, and build my business. But now, so 2015, I started posting and stuff. So, okay. Oh, Diddy got time served. Yeah. Ryan, could you please explain about Tina and her descriptions of Cooper and her fear of him? We have some here who thinks that Tina had a thing for Cooper. No. So, okay. So where that comes from, the idea that Bruce repeated it in a blog post, or maybe it's in his book, but and I remember showing him the origin of this, and he was like, "Oh, that's where that comes from." Bruce had heard whispers that something had happened with Tina and Cooper in the back, but we know where that comes from now. During the Jack Kofelt grift in the early 80s, late 70s, Jack Kofelt was our first grifter, where you had people making money, trying to make money off of a Cooper suspect. The Kofelt died in 75, but there were people who were grifting for him as a suspect, getting articles published, and they wanted a movie to be done. Anyway, Hustler magazine wrote an article about Kofelt being Cooper. And in this article, it's ugly. I mean, again, it's Hustler magazine. It's fiction. It's talking about Cooper grabbing her butt and things like this. And it says that like Cooper grabbed her butt and Tina liked it or something, and she blushed, and all. It's just horrible. And we actually have in the FBI files where they ask about this. But see, I think that Kofelt told this. That wasn't Hustler inventing that. I think that was part of the Kofelt grift, is that Kofelt was, hustling the girls, the team, hustling. Kofelt was part of his bullshit was, oh, me and the girl had a thing, this is stupid. But, and so in the FBI files, you can actually see where they interviewed Tina about this, that the FBI get wind of this Kofelt grift in this article, and they contacted Tina, and they're like, this didn't happen, did it? And it's redacted, but you can almost, it's implied that what's redacted is, she says I only stood up in front of him a few times, something like this. And so he never had an opportunity, and it's redacted. And you can like, I think me and Chris Brower kind of like figured out what possible words it could have been. And it was something like, touched me inappropriately, or touched my bottom, or something like this, grab my butt or something like that, is what it was. So she was asked about it, but that's where that comes from. Yeah, I hate to say that, but you're right, Nikki. Sorry, Bruce, if you're watching. We love Uncle Bruce, but his speculation has done us a bit of a disservice. I agree. But the problem is that before the FBI files, oh yeah, that's why I'm hoping that my book is like the Cooper Bible AD, and Bruce's will be BC. Bruce only had what he had to work with, which was speculation and things like this. He didn't have the FBI files really until his revised versions has some FBI file stuff. But yeah. So, yeah, slapping butts wasn't crazy. But I mean, he didn't do it though. Tina's like this. I don't think Cooper was like that. I mean, I don't think they were. I don't think the girls, and this is one reason why I've actually had a psychologist tell me this about that the girls were not sexually intimidated by Cooper. To be blunt, a younger hijacker, they may have kept their distance a little more than they did. Okay, I mean they didn't like go hug on Cooper, but the fact is that the girls did go back there. We have several occasions where the girls are back there basically shooting the shit with Cooper, right? I mean, they're back there. Let me see if I have my little animation here to illustrate this. I mean, they're back there talking to Cooper, and they don't seem particularly afraid of him. And I mean, because look, if they were afraid of this guy, they wouldn't voluntarily go back there and just like Gallus goes back there and is asking him about the parachute and stuff. So that to me that indicates Cooper was a man, and this is speculation on my part, but I feel like Cooper was a man of their father's generation. Which remember they speculated. Flo's first idea was in his 50s. Then they got down to like mid 40s. The stewardesses for Cooper, which they were early 20s. That would have been their father's generation. Okay, so they thought of Cooper more from their father's generation than a contemporary man. Okay, so like if this had been Rackstraw or somebody, some like dude like that, they may have been afraid he might have assaulted them. But because, I mean, this is wild speculation, but maybe that's proof that he was an older guy, that they weren't physically afraid of him, like assaulting them, because they do put themselves in close proximity to Cooper on several occasions without needing to. Okay. I mean, they could have shouted back to him at the back of the plane, "Can we go?" But, and to me, it also tells me that they thought the bomb was fake eventually. Like, it seems like that they may have felt that the bomb was fake. If somebody's got a dynamite bomb, I'm not going anywhere near it. unless I have to. And Flo and Alice did not have to go back there, to get to be near this dynamite bomb, right? I mean, Flo was back there to get her purse with this alleged dynamite bomb sitting right next to her. She's bending down, on the same level as the seats to get her purse. So I don't think they were. It seems that Cooper really chilled out once the passengers were gone, which makes me think that everything was a bluff. And we kind of know that because think about this. Tina says that Cooper put his hand in the briefcase whenever a passenger would come down the aisle, that's when he would do that. And that was almost, to bluff the passengers out. Like if a guy was like, oh, Cooper could go, my hand's in here, I'm going to do it, whatever. So it tells me that I think Cooper was bluffing and that the girls eventually knew this from Cooper. Now granted, Tina did beg that Cooper take the bomb with him before she left, but it seems that probably they understood that he was no longer threatening to be, well, hell, he's offering them money and stuff. I mean, how bad could he be at that point? So I think Cooper was leery of sky marshals. We know from Alice and Tina independently saying that Cooper was nervous about sky marshals, and they were both like, "Look, there's no sky marshals on this plane." Okay. Tina sitting next to Coop for hours made her suspicious because stewardesses don't normally sit and smoke with passengers. Well, yeah, normally stewardesses aren't hijacked by men. Every other copycat had stewardesses sitting next to them for hours. Mac had Sharon, who I would love to have come to CooperCon this year. We're going to try and do that. Get Sharon there. Sharon is Mac's Tina, right? And they're friends now, which I think is lovely. That's kind of one of my favorite things about the Cooper-ish thing. And it kind of makes you wonder if Tina and Cooper, could have been friends, right? I mean, look here. We've got Mac and his Tina. His Tina was named Sharon. This is them at Mac's house with the American Skyjacker poster. There's Sharon. They're buddies now. Mac was texting her. Mac was using his phone, texting her from CooperCon about it. So if, who knows? Maybe Tina and Cooper could have been buddies eventually. If Cooper had been caught and served his time and then got out, who knows? But pretty neat. But Coop wasn't a copycat. It doesn't matter. My point is that, Jen, hijackers have hostages. So that's why she sat next to him. She was a hostage. She said, "Do you want me to sit here?" And he said, "Yes." Actually, that's true. True. I should hold my tongue there. I do think Cooper was a copycat, actually. He was a Paulsini copycat, in my opinion. Look, there's nothing about Cooper's hijacking that needed months or weeks to plan. He just had to make a bomb. That's funny. I always wondered what the hell Flo had in that purse to take a risk returning for it. Maybe that's what was in Marcellus Wallace's briefcase. Describe what DB Cooper looks like. What? Okay. Have there been any semi-serious supernatural? That's a funny semi-serious supernatural. So I have an oxymoron, isn't it? Have there been any semi-serious supernatural elements or theories associated with DB Cooper case? No. I mean, well, the cow mutilations, perhaps. I think there were allegedly there were cow mutilations on Tina Barr. I know Bruce likes the woo-woo, and so cattle mute at Tina, the cattle mutilations at Tina Barr. Okay. I do think Cooper was a copycat. The FBI thinks that too. The FBI really, it's almost not even a question to the FBI. They mention it several times in the files that they think he was just copying Paulsini. if I could have a guest, like if I could have obviously Tina and Flo would be the top two guests I'd want at CooperCon, obviously. But Paul Sini would be third, really. He is the OG of all this. It would be really interesting to interview him and see what his take on all of this was, that he had a drunken idea while drinking beer one night to do this, and then it became all this. But who knows? Maybe two guys had the same exact idea for a totally novel heist, and they were executed within days of each other. That seems unlikely to me. It's improbable. It's improbable. Not impossible, but it's improbable. I mean, it just seems like Cooper saw the news and did the Leonardo DiCaprio meme. That's me, hey, hold my beer. I can do that. Cooper's like, oh, I can do that. The same way that Mac was casing his Brinks truck to rob it and heard the Cooper news and goes, that's a good way to make a score. His light bulb went off above his head. Well, I think Cooper's light bulb went off above his head when he heard about Paul Sini. He said, hey, I can do that better. Hold my beer. That's what I think happened with him. What about the store robbed on the night of Cooper, that night Cooper jumped? Well, the Heisen store. I'll pull up the Heisen store document. Let's see. Oh no. Do I not have Heisen? Okay. Yeah. Here's the Heisen store document here. It's according to Manning. Charles Manning was the lead ground agent during all of the Cooper searches. According to Manning, a high wind was blowing at Merwin Dam last night. At about 11:30 p.m., there was a burglary of a grocery store located 10 miles south of the dam. Survival rations were taken, including beef jerky, cigarettes, gloves, etc. The person who broke in was wearing military-type boots with a corrugated sole. So, but that same night, we got this happening. The very same night, we have another grocery store being robbed. And what did they take? There was a slew of crimes happening that night. Let's see. On top left there, you can see the Casey store, which is just north of Lewis River. The sheriff's office learned earlier today that cigarettes, cigars, some Polaroid film, and work gloves had been taken in a burglary that occurred at Casey's Corner Store east of Woodland. We also had that night a break-in of a cabin. It was reported that in the same area. It was reported that canned goods were taken. Then also a 12-foot boat was stolen on a moorage and was taken into the Lewis River. So there's all this. And then if you see there, if you can see that, you can see at about the 2 o'clock position, you'll see where I have a pin that says walking man. That is the guy who was seen. That is the Babitzky family. Barbara Babitzky, her name was Babitzky. No way. Oh wait, where is Babitzky? Where did okay, here we go. Babitzky. This is the girl who saw the guy walking on the road. This is me filling in, okay, the redactions. Okay, and get rid of that comment there. Where did that go? Yeah. This says, Harold Babitzky said on November 24, 71, his daughter, Betty Babitzky, is Betty, was on Lewis River Road bound for his residence at approximately 9 or 10 p.m. About 2 or 3 miles west of Frederickson Road, she saw a man walking along the road. Mr. Babitzky said that evidently his daughter was frightened by this individual because Miss Babitzky had told her mother that she immediately locked her car doors after seeing the man. Mr. Babitzky further advised that he considered this incident extremely peculiar and stated that he works a night shift and has driven this same stretch of road for 3.5 years. And during this time, he has only seen two persons on the road after dark. Also, we've got her testimony. Okay, remember, look at the dates. That's April of 72. Here is her testimony. unredacted there. At approximately 11:30 p.m., Miss Babitzky was traveling east on Lewis River Road when she noted a man walking beside the road. The man was just west of the Frederickson Road crossing and on the north side of the Lewis River Road walking west. Miss Babitzky recalled that at the time she thought the man appeared strange because although the weather conditions were poor, the individual was only wearing a dress-type white shirt and dark slacks. Miss Babitzky described the individual as follows: about 6 feet tall, medium build, dark hair, short dark hair, approximately 30 to 40. Miss Babitzky could not recall whether the man was carrying anything and could not identify him as the hijacker when shown a composite picture of the hijacker. And in addition to the above, Miss Babitzky advised that for a number of years she has lived in the Woodland area and that this was the first time she had seen anyone on Lewis River Road after the dark. Could be Cooper. I don't know. I think that's a. I don't think so. Yes, Nikki's right. He thinks, there was a wedding party at the Lewis River golf course that night. So there's a wedding party going on, and this guy may have gotten drunk and wandered off. Okay, because think about this. This is why I don't think that's Cooper. If you're Cooper and you're walking down the road and you see headlights coming your way from the distance, or that could be a sheriff's deputy, that could be the FBI, it could be police. You're gonna dip off the road and hide. Let the car go past you. I mean, you can see the headlights coming. You're not just going to like keep walking, and let the car go past you, and let the driver get a good look at you with the headlights, right? So that can't, how could that be Cooper? Really, Cooper wouldn't behave like that. If there's a manhunt going on, when Cooper jumps out of that plane, I think he didn't. He assumed that they didn't know when he jumped. Okay, and really there weren't boots on the ground for 40 hours, so he was right. But you're not going to take that. You're not going to take that risk. You know, when you jump out of the plane, you're the most wanted man in the country. So Cooper's not walking down a road and letting car lights go flash past him, right? Don't buy that. Cooper may have changed out of his clothes first. Doesn't matter. He could be wearing different clothes, and you're still going to not let random car in the distance that could be a sheriff's patrol, go past you, right? Don't buy that. Cooper had it doesn't matter if Cooper had a clean run walking into town. You're still not going to take the risk when you see car headlights coming. You're just going to jump off the road and hide in the woods and let the car go past you. Tucson's book was very prescient in most areas. However, there are a few instances where he was completely wrong. Do you think he was being fed false info by his former FBI associates for some reason? No. I think that, in fact, he was given the 302s. It's the opposite, Ed. I think that they helped him out a little bit because I do think that there are things that in Tucson's book that are paraphrased from the 302s interviews. Like they're almost like directly paraphrased, and you read them, you're going, "There's no way this is like, something he's just that Tina told him 13 years later, and he writes it down, and it just happens to be a direct paraphrase from a 302." So, like, I think he was given at least the witness interview 302s. I know that Himmelsbach had a personal copy of those. We found those in his effects when we went to his grandson's house and sorted through those. So, Tucson had those. But Ed, I wonder what you're saying that we know is totally wrong on Tucson. I'm trying to think. He does get a few things wrong. Like but okay. Actually, Ed, I can answer that. I can answer that. He filled in gaps. The things that he got wrong were, I don't think he spoke to Flo. Okay. Flo is not mentioned in the book a bit. I think that Flo is the one that he didn't talk to. We know he talked to Alice. We know he talked to Tina. We know he talked to Rat, Andy, Scott. I don't think he got Flo because all the details, these details you're talking about that are wrong, are things that Flo would have told him. So if Flo didn't tell him, then where did he get these things? He got them from the AP article. So there was, for the 10th anniversary of the hijacking, there was a big AP article that was written. And I remember when I first read that, I was like, so this is where all the bullshit comes from. That's the very first time you ever see loafers. So like, you can like, this is the beauty of newspapers.com. You can type in like DB Cooper and loafers. And so you can see the very first time anything with DB Cooper and loafers comes up, and it is in this AP article. Remember, the AP is in hundreds of newspapers. Okay. You get, let me even find that. You get lots of, I mean, we get like, I wish I could find that. You get, that's where you get bourbon and water from. No, that's where you get two. I think that's where you get two bourbon and waters from. Okay. In that article, it's the first time that's ever mentioned is two bourbon and waters. Okay. That's also where you get loafers from. And there's something else. Let me see. I can find that. I can find that really quickly. Let's see. DB Cooper, 1981. Oops, shit. No. Here it is. Yep. Here, this is the article. Okay. So let me read the top of it. Okay. So, yeah, dressed only in a dark business suit, white shirt, narrow tie, and loafers. That's our first loafers. Okay. Let me see what they said for his drink. Let me see. Or is it drink? Was it soda? Okay, wait. It says I forget where it says, but he ordered somewhere in here in this article. It mentions that. It's where that came from, like the bourbon and sodas or whatever it is. That might be edited out. Anyway, there were several things that come from that article. And so the point is I think that that Tucson filled in the gaps that he didn't have with that article. And that article is where he filled those gaps in. Okay. Jack Cofelt was Cooper or not? No. And that Join Jen's actually wrong. He says that lots of deathbed confessions have said they were Cooper. Actually, I only know of two in the FBI files. The FBI files only has two deathbed confessions. That's Dwayne Weber, allegedly, if you believe Joe, and oh shoot, what's that cat's name? Arthur Durham had a deathbed confession. He was from Arizona. So the only two really that we know of that's in the FBI files. Reca was not a deathbed confession. He was alive when he confessed. Poorly confessed. Yeah, drunken confessors, things like that. Jack Cofelt said he threw money in water. No, he didn't. No. Cofelt said they lost the money at Mount Hood. All of it. What was Reca's confession like? Oh my God. The most ridiculous, idiotic, like, I'm going to not be crazy. I'm not going to lose my mind on Reca again, like I did last time, but actually I didn't make a video I made a video on Rackstraw and McCoy. I need to do a Reca one, don't I, guys? But like Reca, and the only reason I don't go entirely scorched earth 24/7 on Reca is because his niece, his champion, Lisa Story, is a sweetheart. She is a good human being and genuinely believes that Uncle Walt was Cooper. But the Reca thing is so bad. Just for what, number one, Reca says that he didn't care what type of plane he hijacked. He was just going to jump out of it. Well, I mean, you can only do Cooper skyjacking on two planes. that flew commercially, a DC-9 and a 727. Reca also says that he was going to jump out the side door, which the engines are in the back of the plane on a 727, mind you, right? I mean, let's recall that. Let's recall what these planes, a 727 looks like. Let's just do this. All of the engines are in the back of the plane. If you jump out the side door of a 727, you will go into that engine. You will be turned into mist very quickly. Reca says he was going to jump out the side door, and Tina Mucklow saved him. Tina said, "Oh, don't do that. Jump out the back door stairs. Go out the back stairs, Reca, Cooper." And then the girl told me to go out the back. It's like, okay. Reca also says that he landed at Cle Elum, Washington, which is 160 miles away from Cooper's drop zone and 80 miles away from anywhere the plane ever was. All right. 80 miles away from the closest that plane ever got. So Reca, it's so bad. I mean, there are so many details as well. I can't remember. I'll make a video on Reca, I think, because his confession is ludicrous. You're right, Jay. Cini was going to jump out the side door too. See, Cini was an idiot. He was a drunk too. Cini did not know what he was doing. Cini didn't hijack a 727. He was in a DC-8. He could not have jumped out. There were no back stairs to jump out. What does Reca get from that? Accolade, doing what he always did, lying, just being a liar. I mean, this is a guy who lied. He lied about everything. Says he had fake. He was cosplaying as like Jason Bourne before Jason Bourne was a thing and before cosplaying was a thing. He was like a pretend CIA agent. It was this. Yes, thank you, Nikki. Better way to say it. Attention whore, essentially. A guy who never did anything in his life, really, and had to make up crap. Were the old version of the Green Berets brought in to search for Cooper, or was it the newer generic ones? I only asked because there was a missing 411 case, right, where the Green Berets? So those were just cavalry men. Those were 200 guys from the 7th Cav. They were just air mobile soldiers. They weren't special forces or anything. They were just local soldiers. Who was the hijacker who lowered his demands the more he drank? That would be Glenn Tripp. His first hijacking, he kept lowering his demands, and then finally, but it wasn't the more he drank, it was the more he drank Coke that had Valium in it. Okay, the stewardesses are spiking his drinks the more he drank. So his final demand was 3 cheeseburgers and a head start in a getaway car. So, I mean, literally, you can look that up. Sadly, he tried it again a few years later. He was mentally ill, and they shot him, killed him. Is there any way to investigate Joseph Henry Johnston further? No, we tried. I mean, we did. A researcher named Kaminsky was able to get Johnston's death certificate. At least we know what he died of in May of '72, which was a drug overdose. If Cooper is ID'd soon, would it delay the release of your book so you can revise it? That is the scary thing, isn't it? Every Cooper author says that. I know Jeffrey Gray was like freaked out, like, oh my God, what if it's solved? I know Martin Andrade was scared of that. I mean, it's just what you deal with in Cooper, but I don't know what I would do. Somebody needs to hurry up and publish it though, because it's with several literary agents, and hopefully I'll hear back from one of them who wants to do it. But they requested a full copy of it, which is a good sign. So, let's see. Somebody mentioned Reca, a good soldier. I mean, maybe. We don't know he was. Is there actually any evidence to suggest Cooper was a copycat? No, just speculation. Just the timing of it is suspicious. Somewhere in the FBI files, there is a thing that there's a graph, and I can't even read it. It's like, try and find that. It's really hard to like even read, because I don't know what it's even like. It's like a math formula. Like the FBI had some mathematic formula to determine when copycat hijackings were going to occur. I wish I could find that. It's some like math thing. It's like a graph that they did. Maybe it's going to be in here. Hang on. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. But it was like it looked like the things you like on an SAT. It looked like one of those like the part in the SATs where it's like science comprehension or whatever. It looks like one of those things, and it's just like graph. It's like this is when we expect hijackers to hit again. And oh man, that's a bummer, folks, that I can't find that. Wish I could. That's too bad. Anyway, but okay, whatever. Sorry. Back to our regularly scheduled program. None of the Reca books are valuable. No, they're not. Reca, I mean, people. Asadich proves Reca was in Cle Elum, thus he hid in Cooper. I wouldn't even go that far. Asadich proves that somebody was in Cle Elum. Not even that night. Man, come on. To remember what you were doing on a specific night. I mean, look, we have the small plane that was circling above View and View Washington and Woodland that the rag straw people thought was connected. That small plane, the McClellans were flying around. Those eyewitnesses were interviewed a week after the hijacking and were like, it was the night of the hijacking. It wasn't. It was the night before the hijacking. So like a week later, people can't remember what happened on a certain night. So to think that Jeff Asadich 50 years later can remember that it was on Thanksgiving, the day before Thanksgiving, I mean, the guy's not a liar. He did this incident happen. And my personal, like, I have a theory that, I mean, it's a theory, but like, I think that Reca hijacked someone's story and made it his own bullshit. I think that Reca heard a story at some point about some guy he knew. Because remember, Reca hung out at airports. He was like a airport lizard who would just hang around airports and shoot the shit at the VFW, all these sort of things, right? He was a skydiver, I think that Reca at some point overheard a story that somebody told saying, hey, I was flying the night of the Cooper hijacking and my plane ran out of fuel and I had to walk into a local town. It was Cle Elum, and I walked into the town and I was wearing a suit because I bet they thought I was DB Cooper. I think he overheard a story of somebody saying, I bet they thought it was DB Cooper because it was the night of the hijacking. I walked into town. And I think he made it part of his own bullshit. I mean, this guy was a terrible liar. I think he incorporated that into his Cooper story. Just my opinion. I don't think that was Walt Reca. Might have been, but I don't know. I think he hijacked somebody else's story. That's what I think. Why don't we do CooperCon in Vegas? Well, Vegas are the bad guys, right? Vegas are not. Vegas are the bad. Vegas are the bad. Vegas are the villains. The Vegas FBI officers are the villains of the Cooper case. They're the ones that destroyed the cigarettes. They're the ones that didn't take care of the tie. They're the ones who lost the hair slide. So yeah, that the Vegas office, they don't get a scratch and sniff sticker for from the teacher. But Vegas would be fun. We might get a lot of walk-ins. We could sell some tickets. You'd probably get some drunks. I'll walk in there. I mean, yeah, Nikki says the best lies are based in some truth. You're right. So Vegas was involved because the plane landed in Reno. Okay, so the Vegas office is in charge of Nevada. There is a Reno office, but Vegas is an overall charge of the FBI. Vegas is where the FBI office is in Nevada. So all the physical evidence, because the plane landed there, all the physical evidence was under their jurisdiction. So that's why Vegas had the hair tie, the hair slide, all sort of stuff. Eventually, though, Seattle got tired of that and was like, you need to send us the tie. Send us the hair slide. We don't have the hair slide. Okay, well, send us the cigarettes. We don't have that either. Oh. So, yeah. We could storm the Vegas FBI and demand they look for the hair slide. A hair slide is not getting thrown away. It is a microscope slide with an exhibit sticker on it. It's not the cigarettes. It's a different thing. It's a different animal. That slide still exists somewhere. It's got to be. It's in a miscellaneous folder or something. Let's see. Vegas is overpriced right now. Yeah, I bet. Okay. Tell me Ryan's Cooper #1 suspect. Well, the new guy for sure. That we can't discuss, but that guy. Yes, that guy. I think Skip Hall. If a suspect whose name is out there, the best all around suspect for me is probably Skip Hall. Just all around, because he was a thug who was also erudite about things and, had free fall experience, but wasn't a skydiver. Skip was a criminal who took crazy risks at times. We have photos of Skip Hall wearing a Towncraft clip-on tie, the exact same tie. That has the white clip. I mean, it's a Towncraft snapper. I mean, again, if this guy turned out to be, I'm sorry, John, if this is, I don't know if you've released this photo yet, so forgive me, but yeah. I mean, if this turned out to be DB Cooper, I would not be shocked, by any means. I do think his nose is a little bigger than I like. And although he can look ugly at times, Skip's not an ugly man, I wouldn't say, right? But when we have Skip, he's a drinker, a smoker, gave his children, before he died, commemorative coins of a Boeing 727 with 1971 on them. Wow. I mean, and that's true. That's not made up. That is an actual thing that Skip Hall's children have, and Packer has seen them. 727 gold coins, 1971, 727. Why would all your kids get the exact same 1971 727 gold coin when you die? Okay. I mean, that's neat. So, I mean, I like that. But no, so Skip has, another thing about Skip that's great too is that, he never confessed to being Cooper, which is probably a good thing because I don't think Cooper would have confessed. So, but I mean, the thing I like about Skip though, look at this guy. I mean, Skip literally passed himself off successfully as a Cuban to grift money from people. Okay. Lorenzo Pasillo, which is funny because it's Lauren Hall and, hallway is Pasillo. But Lorenzo Pasillo was Skip Hall, a fake Cuban. And remember, you got Flo Schaffner saying he looked of Latin descent, and Robert Gregory saying he looked a quarter Mexican, maybe Native American. Well, Skip Hall was Native American. Cherokee blood, like a lot of it, actually. I think Packer has Skip's DNA profile or something like that from his family. I mean, it's heavily Native American. So he was a Native American. That's where he gets his complexion from. You can see his complexion in this picture when he's older. Packer, stop me if these are pictures. I can't remember which pictures you've released or not, but like you can see his skin tone there, which is interesting. Obviously, we don't have many suspects who are genuinely swarthy looking and could pass off as Mexican, and he's one of them. But yeah, the coin thing is weird. I mean, what's funny is that the FBI profile literally says that they think that their best guess was Cooper was middle management in aviation manufacturing. Well, Skip Hall in 1971 lost his job as a middle manager in aviation manufacturing. Literally, like bullseye, bang on a bullseye, what the FBI thought. So I mean, I don't think Skip Hall's Cooper, just to say this. But as far as like suspects go, he's decent. He's named suspect. I think he's got the most like going for him. I think he never confessed on his deathbed. Well, why would, again, who cares? Maybe he had a heart attack. Maybe he was never on a deathbed. How many people were on a deathbed? They could die in car wrecks and things. Was Skip Hall a public figure? No. I mean, he had a brief time where he was in the news very briefly. That's where most of the photographs come from of him. He was invested. I mean, I personally think Skip Hall more likely shot JFK than was the second gunman than was Cooper. I mean, he knew Lee Harvey Oswald and was in Dallas in November of '63. Had a Carcano rifle that he made his kid hide. That is verified. This rifle exists to this day. This Carcano was the same rifle that Oswald used. So I think he's more likely to be involved in JFK than Cooper, in my opinion. But Skip's good. If Ted Braden was taller, he'd be probably the best, except for his nose is huge. But yeah. Now Skip's good. I mean, you look at the photographs of Skip. I mean, he's one of those guys who could look like any of the sketches at any given time. Depending on the photographs of him, he can look like any of the sketches, which is kind of what you want. Like, I mean, you don't want a guy like, that's the problem like William J. Smith or something like that. They look too much like the sketch. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, I mean, whoever Cooper is needs to look like he could be all of them, right? Because, I mean, all of them in both these sketches, Comp A and Comp B are different people. Very obviously different people. But yet the witnesses were like, yep, that's him. Great sketch. So, I mean, like, it can't be both. But maybe it can. So whoever Cooper is needs to be able to fit both, I think. And Hall's a guy who can do that. Yeah. Buy the book, Elizabeth. Where Was Skip on Amazon? I mean, that's, yep. Gossett has the turkey neck. Yeah, Gossett has, well, yeah. Gossett no longer has the best turkey neck in the vortex. The new guy I talk about does, in my opinion. Bill Mitchell liked it. Just heads up. I did send Bill Mitchell some stuff on this guy, and Bill likes this guy. Like, okay. I mean, Bill said that whatever this guy has is kind of what he remembers of Cooper. Because it's not a turkey neck per se. Okay. Gossett had no eyebrows. Yeah, Gossett's bad. Yes, I do think the Bing sketch. I do think the Bing sketch is more likely accurate. Yeah, yeah. I mean, just common sense says that the Bing sketch is more accurate because it was done more closer to the event. That's just human memory. People can argue with me on that, but no, Gossett was not swarthy at all. No, Gossett was fair-skinned for sure. Is Bill coming to CooperCon? Yes, he comes every year. Ah, good. Elizabeth is free. There you go. Yep. Yes, Bill likes it. Bill likes the guy. The new guy was brought forward by the family. So, like I said, I am going to be very, very limited on this guy because I'm not supposed to talk about it really, other than say, hey, CooperCon, come see. Was Cooper CIA? No. Although maybe CIA adjacent. Like, so he knew somebody of CIA because, I mean, it's a bit uncanny that Cooper says flaps at 15 degrees, gear down, and that's the exact jumping for Air America for cargo pushing at Air America. Air America would Air America airdrops out of 727s were 15-degree flaps, gear down. So the fact that Cooper asks for the exact same specifications, it's almost too much, really. Yeah, if Cooper was alive today, he would definitely be over 90, I would think. Yeah, I'm sure. Unless he was in his mid-30s or something, but he wasn't. All right. What are we going to talk about? Okay. Well, Skip CIA. Skip was CIA adjacent. Skip was a part of a group called Interpin, which were these like quasi CIA funded soldiers of fortune who would jump into Cuba and raise hell or go out on boats. And, they had the blessing of the FBI, but not really, right? One of those things like, we're going to fund you under the table a little bit to go cause some havoc. Skip died, maybe in like 2005, 2006. If Flyjack's watching, he'll be mad because Skip Hall had forehead wrinkles like everybody else does when they do this. I love you, Fly. I'm sorry. Goon platoon. Yeah, I mean, they were goons. I mean, they were goons, but they were goons who had to have 5 free fall jumps to do it. Okay, so am I saying Skip was Cooper? No, I don't think Skip was Cooper. No. His nose is too big to be Cooper. I think he might also be too handsome to be Cooper. I mean, Cooper's an ugly son of a bitch, I think. I mean, I don't know. Skip Hall, now Packer has some evidence that in some photographs. So in 1971, Skip Hall had hepatitis. And he was pretty sickly at the time. I don't know. So maybe that made him uglier than normal. But I think Skip Hall was an attractive fella. I don't know if people would call him homely. That's my problem. Is I think he's not. I don't think he's ugly enough to be Cooper. He looks kind of like Clark Gable. Yeah. Yeah, you can purchase them at the door. You see, Uma Fan says, can you purchase CooperCon tickets at the door, or do you have to read them in advance? You can get them. You get them at the door. You can buy for a day too if you just come for a day. I don't think he was ugly. The first sketch makes him look fine, not ugly. The problem with sketches is they're like AI. You can't make someone ugly in AI. It's hard. Like it really is. AI will always make a person look better than they are. Like even an ugly person. They can't help it. It's like it's hard. It's hard to draw ugly realistically, I think. Cooper was, but the girls called him homely, which is a polite way to say ugly. Okay. And they outright dismiss suspects all the time in the FBI files for being too handsome. I mean, so Cooper's attractiveness was a metric that they remembered well enough. Yeah, yes, she did. Not in her 302s, but later on. Tina all the time says this guy's too handsome to be Cooper, too handsome. And the guys she's talking about aren't that handsome. I mean, for example, I think the best example is Don Burnworth. So y'all check this out. Don Burnworth. Here we go again. You got too many photos on your computer. Don Burnworth, not the best looking dude. And this is the mugshot they used. Tina Mucklow saw this picture. She advised that Burnworth was younger looking and was a more handsome man than the hijacker. Florence Schaffner, Burnworth, too young looking and too good looking. I mean, that dude's not Brad Pitt. So, what a handsome man. So, I mean, like, they, and you see this a lot, where they say these suspects are too good looking. So, his attractiveness was a metric that was used, for sure. Anyway, that's that. All right. Who was the passenger that asked about Cooper jumping from a 727? Another guy who was too good looking to be Cooper, apparently. That'd be Gary Samdahl. Do I have his? Where's Gary? Do I have Samdahl's thing? Yeah, so Gary Samdahl was that dude. Oh, I guess I don't have anything on Samdahl. So yeah, that guy was a guy named Gary Samdahl, who was a air traffic controller who was on a Northwest Airlines flight the day before the hijacking, asking the pilots about jumping out to 727. Gary's like, I could do that. I bet you could lower them things. I could jump out. I'm a skydiver. They reported him to security before the hijacking. Like, that guy was asking some weird questions. His name was Gary Samdahl. He was air traffic controller flying to Portland. This guy flew into Portland. And so just about to collect coincidences, right? We have a guy who flew into Portland on a Northwest Airlines flight the day before the hijacking, asking the pilots about jumping out of a 727, the back. So yeah, I mean, that's a coincidence, right? But it was a coincidence. He was not Cooper. But yeah, when the girls saw Gary Samdahl's photo, they said, he's too handsome to be Cooper. So even Samdahl was too handsome to be Cooper. Okay. Nose is broken like Owen Wilson. Any chance Samdahl had been talking to Cooper on the plane? I haven't thought of that, I guess. Interesting. I hadn't thought of that angle, but still, that seems too soon, doesn't it? Remember, this is the day before the hijacking. I think Cooper had, I mean, I do think Cooper was a Cine copycat, but I don't think he did this in one day. Bill Mitchell was wearing a wig and said his hair looked strange. No, Cooper was not wearing a wig. Cooper had a bald spot, apparently. Cooper was balding, according to Alice Hancock. And Cooper had a receding hairline like me. I don't know any wigs that make you look worse. I don't know any receding hairline wigs. No, Cooper wasn't wearing a wig. What do we know about the other passengers? What, on the Samdahl flight or Cooper's flight? Yes. Did Alice try to get Tina out of the hot seat next to Cooper? She did. She did. Yeah. She actually, good thought, Abdullah. Yeah. Alice goes back there and, leans over and says, Alice says, hey, Tina, there are some passengers who are looking for some playing cards. Will you get up and go find them some? And Cooper just stops her and says, looks up at Alice and says, Miss, go back to your station. So like he called her out on it. Alice did try and has said this. She was trying to, like, as the senior stewardess, she was trying to switch spots and Cooper wouldn't let her. So there's that. All righty, folks. Let's see. 2.5 hours. Eyes. No solitaire net. Cooper was not wearing a watch. We do know that. Cooper was asking Tina about the time constantly. Because Cooper was not wearing a watch. Tina Mucklow mentioned that. Okay. Nikki says he's not sure, given Skip's lifestyle, if he'd have been able to jump out of a plane after getting hepatitis. Probably not. Yeah, maybe not. Good thought. Who knows? Cooper did not. Did I know I am mentioned in the intro of Skip Hall book? I do. Yes, I assisted in that book a great deal. I was happy to. So yes, I am mentioned. 91? Really? I forgot. Okay. Packer says Skip Hall passed from cancer in 91. He recovered from hepatitis in 68. Okay, that's right. But lost weight and would get treatments to keep him from a relapse of it in hepatitis B. Packer says, I'll show new photos of him being active in 71 at CooperCon. I think he was saying that Bill Mitchell may have thought Cooper was wearing a wig, which is not true. Bill Mitchell just said that Cooper's hair looked terrible. Yes, Cooper did not know where they were. I mean, I think Cooper, when he jumped, could have figured out they were nearing Portland. I mean, I do think he saw the lights of Portland in the distance. If he, looked ahead if he, leaned over and looked ahead at the bottom of the stairs, he would have seen the lights of Portland coming up. And this is how many cities are gigantic in the Pacific Northwest? There's only 2. And they're 30 minutes apart from each other. And you just left one of them 30 minutes ago. What else could this city be other than Portland? Did Martin McNally know where they were in the air? No. In fact, Mac tells the funny story that when he landed, after he recovered from Mac landed his head so hard, it gave him a concussion, and he slept for 12 hours inside his parachute. But Mac says when he woke up the next day from his concussion, and he walked to the road, and he was hiding in the bushes, I guess, looking at cars going by. He's like, where the hell am I? He's like, I knew I was in America somewhere. And then he saw the first car tag goes by, Indiana. Second car tag, Indiana. Third car tag, Indiana. Okay, I'm in Indiana. And what's funny with Mac, of course, is that he starts walking down the road, just walking down the road, and a car pulls up, and it is the chief of police of the local town. And he's like, what are you doing, sir? He's like, I got in a fight with my friend down the road. And he bluffs his way into this cop believing his story. And the chief of police of the town, Mac, jumped in and says, there's a you shouldn't be walking on the road. There's a skyjacker about. There's a manhunt going on. Do you need where are you going? And Mac goes, town. I'm going into town, generic town. You don't know where town he is. And the sheriff and the police chief goes, well, hop in. I'll give you a ride into town. So the police chief of the town he jumped into gave him, actually maybe the sheriff of the county, gave him a ride into town as Mac quickly threw his pistol out the back of his pocket so the cop wouldn't see before he got in the car, because Mac still has a pistol on him. But yeah, so Mac was given a ride by the local sheriff in the town. And you better believe that the federal prosecutors put that guy on the stand just so they could insult him. They're like, Sheriff, Peckinpah, is the man that you gave a ride into town that day in the courtroom? Yeah, there he is. So yeah, they did that to embarrass this guy for like letting the freaking skyjacker go. Do you think Cooper maybe just buried the money at Tina Bar simply because the ground is softer and it didn't have a shovel? I mean, the problem is, you see that the thing is, you have to go to places to really get an idea of what it looks like. And like Tina Bar is like, there's civilization at Tina Bar, right? It's not like you're very close to like things and people. I mean, Tina Bar is not easy to get to. Okay. I mean, the problem is Cooper would not have just happened upon Tina Bar. Okay. So that's the problem. Let me find a picture that really shows a good shot of Tina Bar. Yeah. From the air. Here we go. There's a good shot of Tina Bar. And see these buildings back here on the right? And then there's some on the left over. They're out of the view, but like that yellow marker is where the money was found. But I mean, they're big buildings. I mean, there's houses and stuff, cars and things. So, I mean, Tina Bar, people live there. The Fazios like live there. So you'd be doing this. There's better places to hide your money than 10 feet from a riverbank of a mile-wide river, right? You just stash your money, really. I don't think Cooper didn't need to. Cooper didn't need to, do that. Do I have I wonder if I can play the audio. Packer, let me see if I can. I know you played it in. Where can I get rid of this photo? Damn it! How do I get rid of the photo? I'm having a brain fart. I wonder if I have that audio. Where's the one? Is this going to play for me? I wonder if I'm able to play. Yeah, here we go. For those listening, this is a Packer. You played this. I know you won't mind. These clips of Skip Hall talking. This is some audio of Skip Hall speaking Coopery phrases. So here we go. This is the one of them.
Be sitting there and they'd say, well, what we should do is get up an assassination team of 10.
Wait. Hang on. Let me turn that volume up.
20 or 30 people that are really dedicated people that don't mind losing their life. And then we'll get the list of those who should be assassinated and let them go do the job. Be sitting there and they'd say, well, what we should do is get up an assassination team of 10 or 20 or 30 people that are really dedicated people that don't mind losing their life. And then we'll get the list of those who should be assassinated and let them go do the job.
Do the job, Cooper said, right? And this is a good one too.
Or I've said, like, someone ought to put a bomb in his plane. Or I've
So if we have Skip Hall saying bomb in a plane.
said, like, someone ought to put a bomb in his plane. Or
we also have Skip Hall using the word states, right? Where's that one? We know that Cooper used the word states to describe America, which I mean, it's not crazy, but I mean a lot of folks do, but it's nice to have audio recordings if you're a Skip Hall proponent of him saying
he had been kicked out of the states once, and he had been kicked out of the states once.
So some cool audio. Yeah, cool Picatina bar. Skip Hall is a bona fide goon. Did Rob Hetty, Richard LaPointe, and Ralph Himmelman know where they were in the air? Ralph Himmelsbach? Well, no. LaPointe had no idea where the hell he was. He just jumped. Rob Hetty knew where he was. Well, he gave them specific flight directions to follow, and to piss him off, they deviated by 1 degree. So Hetty landed on the wrong side of a lake of the lake south of Reno. I forget, like Washoe, maybe is what it is. So he landed on the wrong side of the lake, and that's what got him caught. But no, the only one who really jumped, the only one who actually successfully jumped to where he wanted to jump was McCoy. McCoy landed really, I mean, damn near where he wanted to jump. He nailed it, really. Packer says, I'm excited for Ryan to introduce a new suspect at CooperCon and to share new photos, audio, and compelling information about Hall that I did not have at the time of the book. So yeah, we're gonna have a new Hall suspect, some new skip stuff going on there too. My son and I have been on a JFK thing for about 6 months because he was living in Fort Worth and we drove the plaza. So this book is perfect timing. She's talking about the Where Was Skip book. Yeah, lots of JFK stuff in there. I mean, Skip Hall, as I said, Packer may have been away. I think Skip Hall is more likely to be the second gunman than to be Cooper. I mean, Skip Hall knew Lee Harvey Oswald, was in Dallas on November 63, owned a Carcano, was somehow had a Carcano, sniper rifle, the same as Lee Harvey Oswald, and then asked his stepson to hide it in November 63. So yeah, Skip Hall is sketchy. Was Cooper the only one to jump at night? No, all jumped at night except for LaPointe. If we can see do I have my graph here? I guess I got rid of my graph. Did I get rid of my graph? Yeah. If we look here, we can see where the copycats jumped at what time. All right. So yeah, Cooper jumps 8:13 p.m., LaPointe at 1:25 p.m., McCoy at 11:12 p.m., Heineman 4:30 a.m., Hetty 12:30 a.m., McNally 2:50 a.m. So we can see how long their hijackings were and how long it took to get the money. So you can see that the longest was obviously Heineman because he wasn't satisfied with the hundreds that he was given. He wanted $500s and $1,000 bills. So go find me $500 and $1,000 bills, please. They had to fly his money in from like Miami, Richmond, maybe somewhere else. But yeah, Heineman was a nut. Mac's money took a while. LaPointe's came within. LaPointe had his money. Now, LaPointe only asked for $50,000, but remember, he was in Vegas, right? How hard is it to get cash in Vegas? So LaPointe had his money in an hour and 15 minutes. Not bad. Not bad at all. You're saying did Frederick Heineman, I mean, did he know where he was jumping or not? I mean, he didn't know exactly where he was jumping, but he directed the pilots to fly to a certain area. Yeah, they followed a flight path that was given to them by Heineman. Yeah, so I mean he knew that he was in Honduras for sure because he's from Honduras, so he jumped back where he was from. All right, folks, let's see. Dig up any more info on Johnston, how he died. Yes. Again, Michael, if you're not on Facebook, join the official DB Cooper group on Facebook. It was posted there. Kaminsky, one of a researcher, found John asked what is Portland? I forget what county that is in Portland. It's Mahonish or not? That's Seattle. I forget what county Portland's in. Anyway, asked the county coroner's office or whatever for Johnston's death certificate and got it. Johnston died of a drug overdose in May of 72. Okay. If you were charging DB Cooper, what would the charges be against him? Well, we know what the charges would be against him because Cooper has been indicted. Cooper was indicted in absentia. They indicted Cooper in a John Doe indictment, which is very rare and kind of is cheating. As a current defense attorney, former prosecutor, with my defense attorney hat on, that is cheating. You can't do that. You can't do that to beat the statute of limitations, which is what they did. They indicted him in absentia without a name, which is stupid, but they did. So Cooper was charged with aircraft piracy, 1 count, extortion, violating the interstate several things, but basically Cooper could be charged with aircraft piracy, interference with an airline, extortion, kidnapping, armed robbery, larceny. So, yeah. And remember, what's interesting is one thing that the FBI had to put out there is they said anybody with Cooper money who turns it in cannot be prosecuted for receiving stolen property, for possession of stolen property. They had to make that clear. Because look, if you technically, when little Brian pulled out the money, the Tina Bar money, technically, I mean, just they would never do this, but if you're just being literal, they were in possession of stolen property. So that is a crime. That money was stolen property. So they had to say that. So you know that's part of the immunity for Cooper money is you cannot be prosecuted for receiving stolen property. For having Cooper loot. They had to indemnify people. Was Cooper the only one to jump in a rainstorm? Well, he didn't jump in a rainstorm. It was light rain showers. It might not have even been raining when he jumped. We don't know. I mean, it was scattered light rain showers, according to the National Weather Service. 44 degrees on the ground. Bennies may have been legal at the time. Now, the Bennies earlier that year were classified as a Schedule 1 narcotic. Okay. So he may have received them a year earlier when they were legal or something. He could have obtained them through legal means, but they were a controlled substance. Okay. No, Jay. Northwest was a bad, cheap airline. I doubt Tina was happy to work for them. Well, then why did she work for them for 10 years? No way. No, she worked for them for a decade. If she didn't like it, she'd have left. In fact, everybody continued working for Northwest Airlines for years and years and years and years, except for Flo. Flo moved to Denver, so she began to work for Frontier, which is operates out of Denver. So Flo worked for Frontier Airlines starting in summer of 72. Okay. Is there any good argument against Cooper burying the money to mislead the FBI? The evidence literally points towards someone dipping the money in the river for a while and then burying it. Is there any good argument against Cooper burying the money? Well, no one ever thought that Cooper jumped into the Columbia River until Tina Bar. They thought he went into Lake Merwin. Think about where the search was through all the 70s, right? Before the Tina Bar money was found, all the searches and things were done near Lake Merwin, aerial. So if you're Cooper and you want them to think you died, you have it buried on shore near Lake Merwin, correct? So, Tina Bar is, 25 miles away from aerial. So, and again, the Columbia River is narrow. They were only over the Columbia for 5 seconds, I think it was. So, I think it was 5 seconds, according to how fast they were going. So, Cooper, that's a hell of a bullseye for Cooper to land in the Columbia River. or to jump over a friggin' town. I mean, yeah, Cooper didn't jump over the river. That's ridiculous. I mean, you're literally in Portland. Nobody's going to jump into a freaking metropolis and land on top of a cop car at a four-way stop. You jump away from civilization, but not too far away. You jump close enough to civilization to escape, but not too far away to be noticed, which is what we see with these hijackers, is they always tried to do that. Who was on Benny's? Cooper. Cooper had Benzedrine. Now, whether he was on them at the time or whether they were just for when he got tired and had to escape, we don't know. See, because he could have been ADD. Like, I mean, I take Adderall. That's amphetamine, and I can go to sleep on Adderall. Anybody else who doesn't have ADD, it's like speed to them. It's literal speed. The bottle says amphetamine, but I can go to sleep on it because my brain chemistry is wiggity whack. And so if Cooper was ADHD, then maybe he was chilled out because he was on Benny's. But more probable was that he just had them to escape, to stay awake on his hikes. Yeah, employees love Northwest Orient. Absolutely. They just complained that Nyrop, the president, was cheap. They love to tease him, but they like working. Northwest is a great company. Yeah, but Grider's an idiot. Yeah, Grider jumped out of the plane with a money bag, pretending that he was going to hold on to it. Yeah, it's like, what are you doing? What was he even trying to prove? Like, what do you? We know Cooper tied, but Dan Grider doesn't know the case. Dan Grider thinks Cooper had a leather money bag, and it just didn't all three stewardesses know Kenny Christensen. We don't know that. Don't know that. I bet Tina did though, because Tina and Kenny ended up working together, or they would have. We don't know. We don't know if they knew each other, but they almost certainly did. It wasn't a huge airline, and both of them worked the Far East route, like flying from America to Thailand and places like this. I wonder why Kenny liked that route. Just saying. Read between the lines. But yeah, Kenny liked the Far East route. Dan Grifter. Yes. Yeah, I mean, maybe. His chain smoking makes me think he was flying on Benny's. That's typical of someone. That's like somebody on coke, right? You're on cocaine. But Cooper wasn't jittery, though, really. I mean, he's slouching in his seat. Cooper doesn't seem jittery. So I think I don't know if he was on them or not. No, man, LaPointe did not know where he was when he jumped. No idea. He jumped just over a random field in Colorado in the daytime, like an idiot. LaPointe was just, that dude was. Benny's is a special forces thing. Absolutely. They were called go kits. Part of a go kit for the military was to have in Vietnam, like Ted Braden and them would have had Benzedrine for sure. I don't know if Lake Merwin has a beach or not. I mean, lakes can have beaches. I mean, honestly, Lake Merwin is just as likely for somebody to dig up something than is just as likely as Tina Bar. People on lakes have cookouts and things all the time. So there is no evidence Cooper was homosexual. We're talking about Kenny Christensen. Yes, Benzedrine, stimulants. Benzedrine was Adderall. It was the Adderall of the time. It's amphetamine. It just has a different name. Yeah, Steve Hart says that Lake Merwin has several small man-made beaches. Yes, so you could definitely have money. I mean, I just think that if Cooper wanted to make them think he died, he would do it at Lake Merwin. In fact, Tina Bar makes you think that Cooper lived because it's so far away from the drop zone. I mean, that's my thing Tina Bar is evidence Cooper lived. How else does that money get 30 miles away from where he jumped or wherever? I mean, unless the only scenario for Cooper dying and Tina Bar money being there is somebody finds Cooper's dead body and takes the money, or Cooper lost the money on the jump and somebody found the money bag and then buried money at Tina Bar for some reason. It just doesn't make sense. Wouldn't Lake Merwin be easy to search? I don't know. No, in fact, it's murky water, big lake, and remember the submarine. There was a submarine, a submersible, not submarine, a submersible searched Lake Merwin, and it's mostly like the bottom was full of logs and things, and that was Manning's position, the FBI agent who did the ground search. That was his position, was that Cooper landed in Lake Merwin and sank to the bottom, and his body got, tangled up, but the chute got tangled up in the big thick logs and things. McCoy and McMack wore wigs. Were they the only copycats? No, like I just showed you. These are the copycats who jumped, and Cooper. These are the people who jumped out the plane. And remember, we had one guy who I do consider a canonical copycat. It's like the canonical murder victims of Jack the Ripper. I have my canonical copycats. And he's not on here, but Melvin Fisher got to the bottom of the stairs with the money tied to him and was too scared to jump. So, there's that. Packet sending me pictures. Kaminsky's, anyway, talking to myself. All right. So, okay. Well, we're at the 3-hour mark. So that's it, folks. That's all, folks. Oh, you're saying which ones just wore wigs? Yes. The only ones who wore wigs, to my knowledge, yes, McCoy and Mac wore wigs. Yeah, then no. Oh, wait. Well, how about that? But is there any possibility you landed upstream? I don't think so. No, but there's the flight path. We have the flight path. We know where the plane was at all times. It only was over the Columbia for 5 seconds. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Take down the pic. All right. Anyway. Okay. That's all, folks. So 3 hours in. Thank you for watching. And I don't know, maybe I'll do a Reca takedown. Maybe I should just do a Reca video next. I don't know. I'll see what I'm going to work on. Anyway. Okay, folks. Well, that's all. I'll see you in a couple weeks again. Bye. Cheers. Love you guys. Do your jobs. Bye-bye.